a girl tried to fake that I stole her car. This was right after my dad died too, like within a week or so. And she put a wig on to look like me, and she ran a red light through like one of those things that has a camera. And then so she contacted the police and said, Kandee borrowed my car, and it was her that got the ticket, but she stole my car. It was crazy.
I'm Louis Cole. Welcome to the Recharged podcast. In this series, I invite fellow content creators and artists to explore exciting ways to make a difference in the world. I take my guests to visit local social good projects in my self-converted electric 1973 Volkswagen van. We have real and raw conversations about life and hear from social good heroes that we can all be inspired by.
On today's podcast, our guest is Kandee Johnson, a mother of four, award-winning makeup artist and TV host. She was one of the pioneers of the YouTube beauty community and one of the first beauty influencers. She launched her career on YouTube 12 years ago with beauty, style and fashion tip videos, and has now built a social following of over 7 million. Beyond just the makeup and the beauty aspect, she often discusses challenging topics from online bullying, coping with trauma, and her own personal struggles and how she overcomes them. She's now known for her positivity and encouragement. Her ultimate goal is to help people feel loved and make them feel happy.
Welcome to the podcast. Today's guest is Kandee Johnson.
Hi! I don't even know which camera. Do I look at this one?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody!
So, we haven't seen each other for a while, obviously.
So long.
Lockdown, quarantine's been tough to hang out, but it's so good to see you.
I've known Louis for so many years. He played a crazy prank on me.
Yeah.
One time. That was so many years ago. I know it was more than 5 years ago.
I know.
6 years ago.
I want to start off by saying, right after we met, or it wasn't long after we met, we didn't know each other that well. You sent me the nicest DM on Twitter, and I still think about it to this day. Like,
really?
It's the kindest, nicest message I've ever received.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and it was just like so encouraging to me, and it was so sweet, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, that's like one of my strongest memories from our friendship. Yeah.
That makes me so happy that it wasn't just the prank one.
Yeah.
But I remember when I first met you, which was so many years ago. I feel like me and Louis are like OGs of the YouTube space.
Well, you're even more OG than me, but
really? When did you start?
So. I think this year's my 10th year.
Oh, I'm like a smidge. I started in 2009.
Yeah,
like
you're
January,
a couple.
so
You're
I'm
a
just
couple
a tiny
years.
bit. But as far as YouTube concerned, we were like have been doing VidCons and so many things for so many years. And then the first time when I watched your videos, you just had this effervescent joy that came through. And as you watch his videos, it made you feel more joyful, and it made you want to feel even more kind. And it's very rare that you see that in the world. And not just like that in videos, in real life, he lights up rooms. It could be a convention hall, and you just see his smile or his laugh, and you light it all up with your... It's just like who you are, like who you were made to be. Your soul just sparkles, and it's just like you can see people smiling more and being happy and kinder in your presence, and that's such a rare thing. I was like, oh, he's a treasure. He's a treasure to the world and to YouTube.
That was pretty much what you sent in the message. It was just
really?
like, yeah, it was like so sweet. So anyway, I just wanted to start off by saying thank you so much.
I'm so glad you even remember that.
I would love to start off by just maybe hearing a bit of your life story. Maybe like a 3-minute life story of like how you, not just how you ended up in the YouTube world, but just your whole kind of journey to get this far to where you are now.
Oh man, it was so funny because I found this little thing in my storage, and it was like this little papers I'd written and little drawings and stuff I had done. And I was homeschooled as a kid, so my mom has all my stuff, you know. And there was these little letters of things I wanted to do. And it was basically the same me when I was like 7 as now. And it was just like, I want to dress differently because I feel like you should be creative. And I was like, and whatever I do, I just want to make people happy. Like whatever I do in life, I just want to make people smile. And I was like saying that when I was like 7. And so that was, you know, my journey. I wanted to be creative. I wanted to be different. I want to always make people happy. And then my path, I wanted to do so many different things. I wanted to be an actress, a fashion designer, all these things. And then I kind of, as life progressed, I got married very young. And then a lot of people were like, oh, your dream's over for sure. You are getting married when you're 17. What in the world are you doing? And it's very crazy because like the 6 generations before me had all gotten married at 17 and then had a baby around 18, 19. So I was like, oh, great. I'm just doing what everyone in my family's done. And many times I felt my career was over. Pretty much my whole 20s were not, there was no success in my 20s. Like I became a makeup artist in LA. I worked on TV and movies. It was like the tiniest, like just of success, like nothing big.
I guess you had the success of becoming a mother and having kids.
Yeah,
and stuff,
that was my only success I had. And then I was in LA doing makeup, and I had my son. It was so hard. My family wasn't down here. Nobody could help me. You know, what I would pay in childcare would sometimes cancel out either jobs I was doing for free to build my portfolio or whatever.
And at this point, were you still with your ex-husband?
No, I was divorced. I was divorced and had been married all before I was 21. Like I had lived a lot of life before 21. And so I'm so thankful though, because I think there's a blessing in every hardship or every storm that you go through. It can break your heart down, but like, you know, when you work out or something, like it tears a muscle apart, but it comes back stronger. And so I'm so thankful for all the hard times, all the heartbreaking times, you know, that they built my strength back up, and they even built my faith back up with God to know He could be the only thing that would get me through these times. So when I'm in LA, I think my career is like pretty much, I can't do it. And my mom's like, drive home. I pack up all my things. I drive the 8 hours to my parents' house, really thinking, crying the whole drive, like just crying and thinking my career is over. I'm just going to go back to being a waitress the rest of my life, you know? Yeah. And I didn't know. It was really like a slingshot moment. Like I was being pulled backwards in the wrong direction, but I just didn't know I was ever going to be launched anywhere. And so I get married. I'm chunking. I'm like making it fast, but it was like a little bit longer. Yeah. But I get married again. I'm trying to have like a family for my son. Like, oh, he should have a dad. I want to be married. So I do that, and I have a couple more kids. And so then that didn't work out very well. So now I'm a divorced mom of 3 kids, and I feel like I'm in a worse way of, you know.
And you in your mid-20s now or late 20s?
Yeah, I'm about 27, 28 at this point. Like my 20s were just mistake, disaster, lesson, mistake, disaster, lesson the whole time. And I mean, I felt like a failure, like the biggest failure. We'd go to dinner with my family. My sister's looking successful. She's in college, doing amazing. And then they're like, oh, there's Kandee, who is divorced, I would work as a waitress. I worked at a dentist's office while doing makeup jobs when they'd come to town, you know. And then I couldn't pay my rent. I had maybe $1 in my bank account. I was so embarrassed. I sat in the office and I had to get food stamps, and I remember crying in there. And I called my mom because I was so humiliated that I needed that kind of help, you know. And I remember my mom said, this is building your success story. Everything awful you go through is building your success story. And great success stories aren't made without great things to triumph and overcome. And I was still crying. I was still crying and embarrassed. I was embarrassed every time I had to go to the store to use my food stamp card, and I just was embarrassed. I couldn't pay my rent. I had a friend helping me pay my rent. My mom and family was helping me pay other bills and buy, you know, other groceries because the food stamps are not that much. And I remember I just prayed one day and I was like, God, I don't know, just give me something to take care of my kids. I don't know what it could be, but please just let me be able to help take care of me so I can take care of them. And it was probably within some days after that, my friend showed me a girl doing makeup tutorials on YouTube. And I was like, oh, everybody's always asked me, the women would be like, how did you learn how to do it? How do you do it? And I was like, I can teach them all this way. And so I just started wanting to share that to make people feel beautiful, which is why I got into makeup. I loved making the difference you could see on a woman's face when she felt beautiful. It seems so silly, like it's just makeup and it's just like accentuating things, but the look on their face when they'd be crying and say, maybe I've never thought I was beautiful before, and it felt like a little gift to their heart of confidence I got to give them. And I thought, this will be great. I can do this with more people around the world. And I just started YouTube and people wanted more, and it was just like a friendship, like people were asking. And then I didn't know when I started that, you know, I would get letters of people writing like, you know, you helped save my life, or I was suicidal and I found your videos looking how to be pretty when somebody was going to find my body. And I couldn't even believe that YouTube was I was able to touch people's heart in that way. And it just kind of grew. And soon I remember the food stamp lady called and said, you're making too much money, you're cutting off your food stamp. I was so excited. I was like, this is the best news. I was so excited. that I could pay my bills, and I had no idea that YouTube would have. I mean, you didn't make money at first. When I first started, I couldn't make any money.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could make money at that point. But
yeah, when did the partnership program start on YouTube? It was around that time, like 2010.
It was right around that time, and I remember the key thing beyond the money was that you could make a video longer than 10 minutes. You could only make videos shorter than 10 minutes,
Yeah,
and my
I remember
tutorials
that.
would take so long, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I can make a 12-minute video and I don't have to edit out so much. And then they were like, and you can make money, but I was like, I don't know, what am I gonna make, $1, $2, whatever, $5? And I think my first check, I could pay my cell phone bill, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is a miracle. I was so excited, and then I was mostly excited about the longer than 10-minute videos. But then that's just kind of how things started going. And I mean, when people would be joking, they'd be like, oh, what are you doing making those little videos on YouTube? And they were not kind of very nice about it, you know? My friends
Well, back then it was like weird.
It was super
Like
weird.
when I started as well, it was like, people were like, you're doing what? Like, that's
and
weird.
then they ask you a million questions like, you make money? How do you make money? How much money? It was so, people did not get it at all.
Yeah.
But it was crazy now. It's so, I think I remember like some years ago, and I first saw lists, like people were like, oh, kids are saying they want to be a YouTuber when they grow up. I'm like, oh my, this is so crazy. When I was explaining to my friends and family, they're like, what are you doing? Why don't you get a real job? You're wasting your time. And I was like, but I really like talking to the people.
Wow. And now it just continued to build success, and you're like hanging out with the Kardashians. You've got your own whole makeup line and everything, right?
I mean, it's crazy. It's very crazy. I mean, and definitely there's been ups and downs, you know. I mean, I lost my dad like while I was doing YouTube. I've lost a lot of family members. I've gone through like, you know, periods of burnout or depression and all those things. But the one thing that keeps me going is knowing that I do make a difference. You know, I wouldn't do it just for money, because that's not fulfilling at the end of the day. You can have all the money in the world, and yeah, it does alleviate your stress and problems, but if your heart isn't being fulfilled, your soul isn't being fulfilled, you don't feel like you have a purpose, then you just, you know, that's why you see a lot of people that have a lot of money and they're still not happy, you know. And so the thing that's kept me going is people saying, oh, I miss you, or you brought joy to my life, or knowing there's little girls that have been in the hospital with terminal cancer and you helped get them through, or felt like a friend or comfort. That's what matters most. Your money can be stolen. You know, I bought one fancy bag because I was like, oh, I worked so hard my whole life. I always love a nice suitcase. And I spent the money buying this stupid Louis Vuitton duffely bag, you know, because I was like, ooh, it's fine quality. It's made so well. I feel like I'm really treating myself for all my nights of not editing for years, not sleeping, you know. I had that bag maybe a year and it was stolen. And I was like, you know what? I am not buying that bag again, because you can spend money on everything, buy a new car, the second you get it, it's rusting, falling apart. I think I would rather invest in making people happy around me. And I could make anything cool. This shirt came from the thrift store. It's cool. It didn't cost me hundreds of dollars.
Wow, I feel like your journey's been so incredible, because it started from this place of like desperation and necessity and trying to provide for your family, and then like this incredible traditional success that, you know, everyone would look at and be like, whoa, like you've made it, you know. And then also having this second kind of wave of, well, actually it's not the traditional success and the money that's made you feel the purpose and happiness, but it's like what the impact you've had in people's lives.
Yeah, because the year I worked the hardest, like, and I made the most money I've ever made in my life, I felt like I was going to die. Like, I mean, I was sleeping a couple hours, and these are amazing things, but traveling all over the place, having crazy deadlines that were due, to be at all these events and things and places and shows, and filming a TV show amongst all these other things, and literally sleeping 2 hours a night maybe. And you know this because
the hustle.
The editing, and then I'm the editor, you know, so that's felt a little...
All of these roads are closed. Like every time I try and like turn down a road, it's closed.
Really?
Yeah, I've just had 2 closed roads. Let's
I've never even been down this road before, actually, so this is kind of
just
cool.
going on a little detour before we get there.
I want to live more out here in the wilderness.
Yeah.
my dream is to not have any neighbors. Like, I just want to be, I grew up like on a big ranch with a bunch of land and animals, and so I feel like the more I realize I kind of want that same same space.
Do you know
again.
me and Raya bought some land in Costa Rica, and we're gonna
What?
drive the bus down to Costa Rica, and then we're living in this
What?
like eco community in the mountains in Costa Rica.
No
Yeah.
way!
Out in the middle of nature.
Oh my gosh, when are you doing that?
I mean, we're on our way, but we're just gonna slowly. We've driven the bus from LA to Nashville,
Whoa, that's
and then
far.
we're gonna go up to New York. Hopefully, I'm gonna be able to get back to Europe for the summer to see my parents, and then we're coming back in September, and then we're gonna drive down through.
Oh my gosh,
Mexico,
that's so
Guatemala,
cool.
like Central America.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this was a thing up here, actually.
Yeah, I don't
You're
know.
giving me a tour of places near me I didn't even know existed.
So, so you talked about like on the journey you've had some kind of hardships as well with loss and dealing with the grief of losing family members and then depression and burnout.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear a bit of like how did you navigate through that? Like what were your coping mechanisms and how did you pull yourself out of that situation?
Oh, sure. The death of my dad was really hard because he was healthy, he was fine, he worked out, he was in really good shape, and he was supposed to pick me up at the airport like in a couple hours. And I had just talked to him, and I remember I was in a hurry, I was packing my bags, and I remember we replied something, and I remember my last reply, I was just like, thanks Dad, or I'll see you then or something. And I remember I was like, oh, I should text him I love him. I was like, oh, he knows I love him, I'm in a hurry. Not ever knowing that I would never be able to communicate with my dad on earth ever again, you know? And so I know he loved me, but it was on the drive to the airport that they called and said he had been in an accident and an artery had been cut with a window. He was helping a friend move, and I just didn't feel real. Your life didn't feel real. I remember thinking like I wanted to jump through the windshield, and I was looking up at the clouds and I was like, I just wish I could be in heaven. Like, I don't even want to be on this earth feeling this pain and shock, you know? Like, my brain didn't want to receive what they were telling me on the phone. And I think that was I cried more than I've ever cried in my life. I didn't eat for days. You don't want to wake up. The second your eyes open and your reality hits you, I just wanted to not be conscious again, you know? And for me, my just faith in God to help carry me and be my strength in that time. And I would go running. I would go running for probably 2-3 hours a day, just crying on this trail, just out in the middle of nowhere, just running and crying. And I remember one day I was running and I felt the sun on me, and I looked down and I saw a spark plug in the ground, in the dirt. And it was almost as if I could feel, it wasn't like my dad was talking to me, but maybe it was God speaking to my heart, just saying, he will always be the spark plug of your heart. And my dad was like big into cars and fixing cars up and stuff. And so, and I could feel my dad, because he always taught me, you know, whatever you go through in life, whatever is difficult and hard, you can use that. God will use that pain that you've had to talk to somebody else, to comfort them, to make them feel better. And he always taught me, you know what, whoever you're around, leave them better off for having been in your presence. That they are happier, they leave feeling more inspired, more confident, more everything for you having been around them. And I could feel that in my dad. Like, even in this, I would be able to comfort others that have experienced loss. You know, I didn't want to have to go through it to do that, but that would be the beauty that would come out of that, is that I would know that pain. I'd know the cliche things people say that just do not help you in any way, you know? And so that was and I know my dad is with me. His DNA is in my veins, and all that he taught me is with me. And he wouldn't want me to stop. I couldn't do YouTube. I just had nothing to give for a long time after that. And then I lost my grandma that was close to me, my grandpa that was close to me, a cousin, my sister's father-in-law. It was just a lot of loss. Yeah. And then I had been in a relationship and I was engaged to somebody, and then that broke up right around the time. And I had just been on a burnout of like working so much. Like, it'd be like, this sounds so crazy to say, because I'm very thankful that I would never have gone to Paris or ever flown first class in my life if it wasn't for the opportunities I was given. But it was like flying to Paris for 3 days and then flying back for a couple hours to pack and then flying to Mexico for another thing I had to be at and then flying to New York to be on like this TV show thing and then coming back and having video deadlines in between. I'm trying to post and being positive, inspiring, and be a mom, and it was just a lot to take on. And then stepping back, I just always had to realign, and I know that my purpose is not, I want to make people happy. I want to bring them joy, and I want to show them how you can go through hard times and you can still have joy even in the hard times, and it's okay to laugh even through the hard times, and probably that's the most important thing to do in the hard times. And I just, in my heart, I just really want to encourage and inspire people, and my outlet has been the makeup. But to me, when people say you helped me get through a hard time, a breakup, the loss of a loved one, or whatever, that's so much more meaningful than when somebody's like, yo, you taught me how to do my eyebrows, you taught me how to do, this look or look like this person. That's great too, that's fun too, but the meaningful ones are those ones when I know my silly little makeup videos or silly little thing helped somebody through a hard time, because I know what those hard times feel like,
Do you share personally a lot of your story on your videos, or do you keep it more light and kind of fun?
I try to keep it light and fun, but I used to write a blog and I would share. I shared so much. It was probably like too much. Yeah. And in some videos, I've learned on the internet, it's not safe to open your heart up because not everybody is your friend and will love you and care for you that way. And some people want you to fail and they want things to go wrong in your life. And, there's some scary people on the internet that have, definitely scared me with the evil things that they have tried to do to me, And so I share what I feel is going to be helpful. But, probably as you've learned, it's a hard balance. You want to be open and share with everybody, but you need to keep something sacred and special to you, and even hurts and pains. I've been through very traumatizing and hurtful experiences, even while I've been on YouTube, things that have happened to me during that time. And I will never talk about those things. Maybe one day if I wrote a book, but sometimes, and I never want to say anything negative about anybody, even people that have hurt me. I don't ever want to hurt them like they hurt me, so I will never talk about a lot of things that have happened.
Which is amazing, because I think a lot of people kind of capitalize on drama and the toxicity of YouTube, especially even like the beauty.
Oh, and it's
space.
A game,
It's a game. Get the views.
If you're spilling tea and you're talking about drama with somebody, that's going to get tons of views.
Yeah.
And that's great. I don't really think that's great actually, but I think you don't want to have views from a negative thing. And I always hope, my mother, bless my mother's heart, she's so amazing. I remember some people had done very terrible things, and just one example, a girl tried to fake that I stole her car. This was right after my dad died too, like within a week or so, and she put a wig on to look like me, and she ran a red light through like one of those things that has a camera, and then so she contacted the police and said Kandee borrowed my car, and it was her that got the ticket, but she stole my car. It was crazy. She lived like not even anywhere near me. And so obviously the police come knocking on my door from another state, and they're like, this person says you stole their car. And I had like, the good thing about it is like I was literally at an event that was documented by multiple sources where I was the day she said I stole her car. And so I see the woman's name and address because it's on the police papers, and I was so upset, I was like shaking. I'm still like grieving my dad, so emotionally I'm not in a good place. And my mom, she was like, we need to pray for her right now. We need to pray that God blesses her so much and fills her heart with so much love and healing that she doesn't feel the need to do this, that she's so full of love. She just wants to bless people instead of hurt people like this. And in that moment, I was still like, I don't really want to pray for this lady. But as my mom started to pray, I could feel, I really did want blessing on this woman's life. And I wanted her to feel love. And I wanted her to, because when you're not hurting, you don't do things like that,
Well, they say like hurt people.
Oh,
yeah,
right? Yeah. And it's the hurt people that sometimes want the power in a situation or to distract from the pain in their life, or they want a power to hurt somebody else because it gives them, they feel the upper hand or control of moving their meanness around, you know? And my mom has done that many times with, you know, other situations that sometimes I think some of the most painful things that have happened in my life have been since I started YouTube, you know? But seeing my mom's outlook that way has helped me with everything. And even people that I may have had to remove myself away to protect myself from that person, and maybe they were not in a safe mental place, or they were hurting and I knew they were going to hurt other people. And I will keep those people at a distance, but I will still pray, you know, blessing for those people in my life. And I feel like that is one of the greatest healing things to feel, where you really are able to say, I hope somebody that hurt me, I hope they have joy in their heart. I hope they know what that love feels like, you know?
And to truly be able to forgive. I think forgiveness is such an underrated thing that people don't understand. If you're holding on to bitterness and anger towards someone, I once had it described to me as like, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It's like holding on to that is so unhealthy for you. I know so many people like that just live their lives like bitter and angry. And yeah, maybe they've had injustices and think people done wrong stuff to them, but there's something still within your control to be like, if you can find a way to forgive and let go of that. And it might not seem fair.
No.
I was talking to Raya about how like she often has like this righteous anger and justice thing, which is good. But on the flip side, forgiveness and fairness are almost like kind of opposite, because life isn't fair.
No, it's not.
And if you're constantly fighting for life to be fair,
you're going to be fighting your whole entire life.
So it's like you don't want to invite people to do wrong to you, and like I sometimes, and I think this is a criticism I get from Raya, is like I'm too trusting. And I'll get into scenarios where people will abuse my trust and do me wrong, and it's like I just believe the best in people. So sometimes now I'm like, okay, I need to be a bit more discerning about who I trust and stuff like that. But then still, like, even people that do wrong to me, like, at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, maybe they've gone through a lot of stuff in their life. It doesn't excuse it, but it kind of explains this is why people
their behavior.
do things.
And the more you understand human behavior, the more you understand, you know, when you're in middle school and kids are making fun of you, you don't understand. And then later you understand, oh, they're trying to get the power. If they make fun of you first, this gives them something to talk about. They have limited thinking. They're not open to creativity, to embrace things. Like, the older you get, the more you learn those things. And like you said, it's like if somebody hurt you and they give you like a pile of trash, and then the unforgiveness is you still holding the trash, thinking about the trash, thinking how it's stinking up your life, thinking how it's rotting up your life. Throw the trash out and don't let it take up space in your head anymore, you know? I've been hurt by so many people. So many people have done the shadiest things to me just since I've been on YouTube, you know? Used me. I mean, I could go on a whole list, so I don't want to go too deep where people might figure out who would be doing these things. But all of that, I've had to ask for forgiveness. And even though I will still see this person and they'll still be doing that same thing to other people, or I'll see more things happening in their life, and I know it's because they're not operating from the right place in their heart, you know? Once you get the right place in your heart and you're free from that, I would be so bogged down and miserable if I thought about all the unfair things that people have done to me, or all the unfair things that have happened to me. And if you want to go into the future and you want to think about good things, you're going to crash if you're looking behind you. You have to leave that behind you, and you have to search every day, search for what's good around you. If I go on Twitter or the news or something and I start seeing every injustice and horrible thing, I will get so angry. I will get so sad. I will get so hopeless and feel like we're just living in a dark world. I hate there's just ugliness everywhere. And you have to turn and you have to find the little gemstones around. You have to find the little bits of joy and water those.
And I want to say as well, like, I do want to still fight for injustices.
Of course,
but I think you've got to pick your battles, because otherwise, like you said, it's like everything, you're fighting everything.
Everything. And stand up for the things that you believe in. And I think as long as you stand up in a way that you're not hurting other people or you're not bringing anger, I think you always want to fight for the right things and have a heart for what's good. I think you just have to make sure the balance is the rest. There's so much more joy that it doesn't become that you're just a soul warrior warring through life, because that is taxing, and then the joy kind of goes away when you're in, attack mode, or even thinking about your past mode. If you think about your past and everything that's going wrong, it will just weigh you down so heavily, and you have to be light. You want to be light. You don't want all this baggage of thoughts and things. And yeah, you can acknowledge what happened. Like, I know what's happened in my past. I know what I've come through. I know what I've made it through. But I don't want to stay in that little victim-y place where, like, oh my gosh, so much has happened. Life's been so hard to me. That's not where your strength is. Your strength is saying, I made it through those things, An Olympic athlete isn't going to be like, oh my gosh, my training is so hard. Where's my muscles? I don't get to see friends. I'm doing all these things. No, they're thinking about the prize, and that's what's ahead, Whatever somebody's prize is,
I've got a question for you. So, me and Raya have talked about, after we get married next year, we want to immediately start trying for kids.
Oh, yay!
So, I'm kind of thinking about the next 5 years of my life, and a huge part of that is becoming a parent.
Yeah.
What would I'd just love to know, like, having had kids so young and having been a parent most of your life, like, what has that taught you? What have been some of the most beautiful lessons, and how has that changed your perspective on life, raising kids?
Oh my gosh. First off, it will be the greatest love. Like, they say you've never known love until you have a child, and you think you loved people. Your parents loved you. You've loved people in your life. But the moment that you hold that little baby, you feel this love like you literally will never feel for another thing in life. It's amazing. I can't even describe. You only know when you feel it, But what it's taught me is that this little person you are their everything. You are their comfort. You are their cheerleader. You are their source of how they're going to view the world. And yes, they do come with pre-packed DNA from each of the parents, so they may have a trait that's like, oh, that's like Grandpa so-and-so. This is their personality just like them. It's like the gumball. You don't know what color gumball you're going to get.
Yeah.
But you do know you have the ability to guide their outlook, And I love getting to be the one to fuel up my kids, to charge them with so much love and confidence and love for them to pour out to other people, to have, just to be able to lift them up when the world is going to tear them down, but you get to be that voice that guides them and shows them how to live peacefully, how to forgive, how to, go out, and when you see the kid eating by themselves, you're the one that offers them a table, or I'm so proud of my kids and the way they love, where my daughter, we were walking down the street, and she's 16, and she just turned and ran backwards, and I was like, where's she going? Did she drop something? Her mask flew off? I don't know. And she just went back to tell this older woman that she saw that she had such beautiful eyes. And just her heart, we were driving again, we were going to get our nails done, and there was a homeless, like, a little encampment under the freeway, and the guy had said, I'm an artist, I'm selling art, but he wasn't there, and we were just at a light, turning, and she was like, Mom, can we come back and buy one of his paintings? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to come back and buy one of his paintings, and maybe I can post it online and people can help him. And her heart, when we went back, he wasn't there again, but her heart was like, Mom, we have to go back and find that guy and buy a piece of his artwork. Just that, seeing my kids in their heart for wanting to help people and be kind, it just makes me so happy, because I know there's so many kids out there hurting. And just the time that you get to devote to your kids that you will never get back, For me, able to do YouTube on my weird schedule, I've been home, I wasn't away at a job. I may have been editing all night, but to know I was there with them, and I was the one getting to infuse my morals and principles and encouragement to them is...
Was it ever scary? Like, you're like, it's my responsibility to, like, make a human.
Yeah.
Not just, like, physically, but, like...
But guide them, yeah. And you don't know, like, you're hoping you're doing the right thing, And, oh my gosh, my grandma used to say she would pray for any mistakes she made in her kids, that God would heal it and correct it at night, Because you're human, and you hope you're doing the right thing, And I wanted to be an example of my kids for forgiveness, and not be the frazzled mom that's snapping and yelling at her kids. And it breaks my heart how I've seen some people being so awful to their children, you know, and I'm like, they're a little gift to you, and you're the best thing in the world to them, you know. Like when I lost my dad, I felt, even though I was, 30 something, I was like, my protector is gone. Like I knew my dad, I could be 32, I could be any age, and I could be having whatever, if I was having financial troubles or whatever, stress troubles, my dad, if he could hug me and tell me everything was going to be okay, I felt like a little tiny girl again, and my dad could make me feel like everything was going to be okay, and his words could lift me up from the depths of despair. He could light me on fire, feeling like I could do anything. And then it feels like an honor when you get to be that comfort. That all I want is you,
Yeah.
You're going to be a great dad.
I hope so. I feel like for the first time in my life, like it took me a while to wrap my head around, like, because I'm very much, with all the traveling I always did, I was like, freedom, I have my own freedom. I'm like, saw being a parent as like, I don't think I'm going to have as much freedom when I'm a parent, but I'm kind of ready for that now, it's like ready for that next chapter.
And and all the experience that you glean from all this traveling and life experience and knowledge, you're going to have this wealth of so much to share with your kids. And the freedom that you might feel like, I'm not free to pick up and go off here or there will never be anything as close to fulfilling as you walking into a room and this little person running and saying daddy and running to you, knowing you are their everything. There's not a pet, there's not a person that you will ever feel that love from like that little person ever.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait, honestly. You're
going to be the best dad.
Some of our friends, do you know Lana and Luzu? He's a Spanish YouTuber. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, I do.
So they had a baby a few months ago.
Oh my gosh.
And he came onto the podcast this week, and I got to hold the baby. Oh my gosh. I've got to show you a photo actually.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah, check.
I bet the baby's so cute.
It's like, look how tiny that baby is. And I honestly, it's been the first time I've held a baby like that and been like completely like, I could do this.
Yeah, I could hold this baby.
I'm ready to have my own one.
Oh my gosh, you look like a pro. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. Oh, you're gonna be the best dad ever.
I hope so.
You're gonna have
I think the thing I've realised as well.
To have you for a dad.
The thing I realise as well is like in our society we're kind of taught that parenting's like an individualistic thing, but I feel like historically and around the world, like it takes a whole community to raise a child, and like that's why I'm really excited to have like friends around, family members, like rather than trying to do it on our own. Like, and I think
even the support, like the grandparent support, and you watching your parents love your kids is like I'm sure you think, like, what do you think is the most important thing that your dad has taught you? Like one thing that you feel like you live with daily. Like, is there something you feel?
Yeah, I think for my dad, I think he was very optimistic and liked solving problems, and I think I've adopted that from him. Like just seeing anytime there's an issue or problem in life, it's like that's a challenge. It's an exciting challenge. Like, how do we overcome this? And it might be painful and there might be really tough things, but it's like, what can I learn from this? How can I better myself through this experience?
That outlook is amazing. So many people.
Because otherwise you become like the victim, and you're just like.
And then you're overwhelmed by the problem, and you don't know how to face it in an excited way, like your dad taught you.
Yeah.
That's a priceless thing. People would pay in seminars to hear it.
Right, so anyway, we've arrived.
Okay.
Let's pause our conversation, we can chat some more.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll come and introduce you to my friends, and we're going to learn a bit about this organisation.
Awesome!
Yeah.
Today we're visiting Housten Kraft, a speaker, author, kindness advocate and co-founder of Character Strong. He has spoken at over 600 schools, events, conferences and companies around the world, and is passionate about helping people create lives filled with compassion and love. In 2016, he co-founded Character Strong to help infuse character, empathy and connection into education. Housten believes in the power of story and practical exercise to shape a more loving world.
So we've arrived here to meet Housten from Character Strong. Hi. Are we
fist bumping? I'm such a hugger.
Okay.
I'm going to hug. That's more normal.
Good to meet you.
You too.
Good to meet you, bro. I think we're heading over here, and then we'll sit down and Housten can explain a bit about what Character Strong is and what we're going to do today.
Let's do it.
I love the name already.
Thanks. Yeah, it was inspired by the idea basically that I think we can, like everything about like character or kindness, they're not like things we're just born with, they're things we can practice.
Oh, I love that. A lot of people need reminders too.
Yeah, one of the sayings we use a lot in our work is we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught.
Oh yeah.
And one of my favorite anecdotes is a hospital group hired these consultants to come in because people were like dying of infections, preventable things.
Yeah.
And they paid these consultants like millions of dollars to figure out how they solve that problem.
Yeah.
And their wisdom was they needed to hang a sign in the bathroom reminding surgeons to wash their hands.
Oh my gosh.
And that was it.
That was it. And I think to myself, if surgeons need to be reminded to wash their hands, we need to be reminded to practice things like kindness.
Everything, yeah. It's like coaching. You just need like a coach to be like, remember, keep doing this, keep doing that.
Yeah, we all need a little accountability for the things we want to be in our life.
I love that.
Yeah.
What a cool place we
I just
have.
want to say, like, it's very, very hot here today.
I know.
And this just reminds me how great trees are.
We got some
Like
shade.
you're saying, we need to be reminded, like, look at this shade.
We're like
this
10 degrees
tree's
cooler and
providing.
there's a little breeze blowing
I love
there.
it.
This is great.
This is a good tree too. This is like, this tree knows things that we don't.
I know,
for
it has
sure.
like perfect branch, like umbrella shading.
Well, should we sit down for a second? So I've known Housten for a while, and I've heard you talk a few times, and but I would love just to hear from you, like, what Character Strong is, and to explain to Kandee as well, and then kind of what the journey to, you know, for you to start Character Strong and everything, like a bit of your journey.
Yeah, well, Kandee, I understand that like part of your heart or your world is caring about compassion and like wanting to reduce bullying and pain in the world.
Yeah,
which
totally.
We need pain reducers anywhere we can get them.
about this.
Oh, amazing. And that's what, I mean, Character Strong to me, I sort of hold a belief that education is like the #1 pathway to a better world.
We should always be learning.
Always be learning. Yeah, I know you're like learning to homeschool your kids right now. It's epic.
You know?
And I feel like, you know, for a long time I spoke in schools.
Really?
We're like literally down the road from Agora Hills High School.
Really?
Yeah, I spoke there probably 5 years ago, and it's fun driving by.
What got you started on speaking?
I think high school, I broke my ankle.
Yeah.
I was a soccer player.
Oh,
and then
shoot. That's
I know.
a bad one.
Key
Yeah,
injury.
Yeah. I know.
And because of that, I ended up being, I ended up joining like the theater program. I ended up like getting into musicals.
Yeah.
And I realized I was better at that than soccer.
No way.
And I liked it more.
Really?
I think a lot because I was never a very good actor, but I like loved the premise of storytelling.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Yeah, and like obviously like great creators.
Yeah.
Yourself and Louis, like it's all about telling meaningful stories that
Yeah.
people can like intersect with in some way.
Yeah.
And I was also really involved in like student leadership in high school.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that was in your world at all. Were you like an
I was
involved?
kind of like I was like the new kid, the outcast. I don't even think people thought I talked. Like they were like, "Do you talk?" I'm like, "Yeah."
That's a tough Venn diagram, the new kid and the outcast.
Yeah,
So
and I
maybe
was
they,
super
like,
shy, so I was terribly. It was not a recipe to make a lot of friends or anything.
Okay, so you and I had a different high school experience.
You were probably like the cool kid that I was like, I bet he doesn't have to worry about who he eats lunch with like I do.
No, I wouldn't describe myself as a cool kid. I would describe myself as over-involved, which maybe that has
That's
a correlation
still
to
cool.
cool. Thank you.
You know everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I did know. I made it a goal to learn
You know
lots
the
of
athletes,
names.
you're knowing the drama kids, you're knowing everybody in student body stuff.
Yeah, and I think that was like, for me in high school, I started an organization about practicing kindness and
In high school?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, what an awesome heart you had.
it's kind of on accident. I was lucky. I had a lot of cool mentors and influences
Yeah.
in my life, and coming out of college, I realized that like the intersection for me of what I wanted to do was like storytelling plus kindness and compassion.
Wow.
And so I met a guy who was speaking in schools. Like that was his work, and I was like, "That's a
Really?
thing. You can like just
Yeah.
like get paid to go tell stories."
Yeah.
And so right out of college, I started working in schools. I started like doing assemblies and workshops.
No
And
way.
yeah, so I traveled over the course of 7 years. I spoke at about 600 schools all over
Oh my
the
gosh,
country.
right out of college.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to college for any kind of public speaking or anything like that, or was it totally something else?
Yeah, I studied English and theater.
Oh, no
so
way.
words and stories.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
'Cause public speaking is so many people's like greatest fear. So you're like, I'm just gonna go guns blazing, go out in the biggest fear everybody has.
But like public speaking is a fear because it has the ability to make you an outcast, which is like people's biggest fear is actually loneliness.
Yeah.
It's like social
Being
disconnectedness.
rejected, being not received, all those things. Yeah.
Being like embarrassed or judged or whatever.
Yeah, it's like
Laughed at.
worse than death. People are afraid of it worse than death, which
Crazy.
is intense.
Yeah.
And I love it. So
Yeah.
Did you love it off the offset, like, or was it still a bit? Were you a bit nervous to go on? Because I found like the more I started doing, I don't do a lot now, but like the more I got into the
easier 'cause you're
exercise
like,
and
okay.
muscle, then I was like pumped. I'm like, yeah, I
You're
want to
like,
do this.
Bring
kind
me
of
the
thing.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it became more about like the art, like it's so fun to find, it's so fun to like figure out no matter who the audience is, and whether if you're in like a school of 25 or like a school of 4,000 in Texas,
Oh my gosh.
and no matter if it's like in the city or in the suburbs or in rural, like what's the common thread, like how do you speak into people's hearts no matter where they are, and I think that's the gift of stories is people can enter stories from wherever they're showing up from.
And you have a relating point somewhere when a story is, told. There's some connection point that people have with something you said,
Yeah, I think about it like intersections. Like if I'm like going from point A to point B in my story, like no one has the same point A to point B, but people are going to cross the roads at different points, and like that's how we get moved. Like a great movie or a great song or a great YouTube video is like at some point if it intersects with my story, like that's how we experience change. Is like we find ourselves in another story.
That's so cool.
So I did that for a long time, and then I was like, I've been on too many airplanes, and I've slept in too many Hampton Inns, and in a lot of ways, like my lifestyle was suffering. I was like just overwhelmed and exhausted, and it wasn't scalable. Like I couldn't scale myself, but you can scale.
Make more of you.
Yeah, I tried.
Yeah.
But you can scale a message.
I wanted to too.
Yeah, I think we all.
12 candies, I could get everything done.
Yeah, well, you have children. You get to like.
Yeah, I need like an
make
extra
them.
5 for just them.
So it transitioned from that into I got to work with a mentor and a hero of mine who really inspired my heart for this work.
Yeah.
His name's John. And we came together, and he'd been a classroom teacher for a decade and an administrator for another 5 years. And I'd wandered around all these schools.
Yeah.
And we came together. I was like, hey, I have lots of like connections all around the country.
Yeah.
You've built some incredible work in the classroom. Like, let's build something together.
Oh, no way.
And so we started Character Strong. And
oh, how cool.
yeah, so now we work with 3,000 schools.
Oh my gosh.
We operate in all 50 states and like 18 different countries.
What are you guys like? Mostly high school, middle school, elementary? Are you guys everything? Or?
We're everything, yeah. Pre-K
Whoa.
through 12th grade.
Oh my gosh.
We work with schools, like we build curriculum to teach the stuff, and then we work
Really?
with lots of adults who need also help learning these things.
Is it help,
they
like
can.
you help the teachers?
Mm-hmm.
And then you speak to the kids as well?
Yeah, so I used to go like direct to kids.
Yeah.
And I think the more powerful approach to me is like, how do we equip those adults or those mentors in people's lives to like build that relationship? One of the biggest measures of success in a student's life in school is the teacher to student relationship.
Yeah.
Like if they have a trusting adult in a building, it changes their entire experience.
That one teacher can change somebody's whole trajectory and course, just imparting something to kids that you might miss on some bitter teachers that are just tired of kids,
Yeah.
We were saying on the way here as well, like parenting, there's this feeling of responsibility to impart the kind of your morals and values into your kids, that they that they can succeed in life and be kind people, and it's hard if people don't have those parenting
They didn't have those
skills,
type of
or,
parents
or weren't
either,
modeled that, and then it's like, could it then get stuck in a cycle of like, your kids aren't taught that, they won't teach their kids that. So it's like, school can be this amazing opportunity for people to learn stuff that they wouldn't necessarily learn at home.
Right.
1000%. Yeah. Where does it get learned? Like who's going to equip them if we don't equip educators with the capacity to, like, educators' gift is the ability to teach.
Yeah.
Not all parents know how to teach, right? We
Yeah.
have indirect teaching through the way we like raise people, but like there's a skill set to
And not
teaching
even all
things.
teachers probably know the impact they can have, or they need thinking too. They're not perfect, so they
Yeah.
could use some my daughter was telling me they had like a big bullying thing come to their school, and she was like, Mom, it's so ridiculous. Like, nothing they told us is going to help. She's like somebody bullying you, making fun, like you're going to come up and say, stop, I will not tolerate bullying. She's like, no one is ever going to do that in a hallway. Like, what they're taught them is, she's like, this is not going to help at all, you know? And I was like, oh, this is taught from somebody that's so disconnected from kids, to think that you saying, stop, I will not tolerate bullying. That's not going to happen.
That's going to cause more bullying.
Yes, they're going to attack you even more. Like, I was like, who is telling these kids this, you know?
Unfortunately, that's my whole approach, is just the stop, don't bully. I'm just kidding. No, we don't use the word bullying.
The hand up and no tolerance.
Yeah. The key is the hand and a stern tone.
The hand stops all bullies.
To that point, like, there is so much research around bullying, and we have no idea how to stop bullying directly.
Oh, it's not. It's like a person to person. I'm an adult, you know, I'm old, and I have people writing hateful things to me, and then my reaction wants to be writing back to them and be like, why are you so mean? And I remember this one girl, she was like, you ratchet, no talent, ugly. I mean, she had a whole list of things on my Instagram, why I was terrible. She said, you should kill yourself. The sound of your voice makes me want to, all this stuff. And I, you know, obviously, like, I click on it and think, whoa, that's so much. And then my first reaction is like, I want to reply because I'm just feeling like I'm vibrating, you know? And then I look at her profile and I'm like, oh, she's a very beautiful girl. And then I just wrote back to her. I was like, this is so interesting to see, like, such a beautiful girl, because you're so beautiful, saying such ugly things. Like, it doesn't match up, you know? And then she continued to have like a full-on conversation, and she was like, oh my gosh, I don't know, she lost her job, somebody had just died. She was like, I'm having the worst day. She's like, I don't know why I wrote this to you. And we ended up talking, and I was like telling her I love her and encourage her, and she's like, I've never felt as much love from just through the phone as I'm feeling from a stranger that I've never met. And I was like, it just shows you that sometimes people's words, you are the result of like the pot boiling over. You weren't the fire that started it, but in their head, the pot was too full, and they just spewed everything out on you, you know? But it's an individual one-on-one case. You don't know, has this person been bullied their whole life? Are their parents abusive to them? Are they feeling suicidal? You don't know what is causing the words. You just know, like, whatever your heart is full of, if it's full of hurt, your words are going to be hurtful. If it's full of love, your words are going to be love. And it's like you said, it's a case by case. You don't know, there's not a recipe like, oh, bully, you had a bad lunch, and then you kicked something this morning, and then your dad was mean to you. Like, there is no recipe it's just out there in abundance everywhere, right? Like, more so than ever, I feel bullying is at a high, and just people being mean. They can harass you on every social media outlet, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. When we were younger, like, I'd come home from school and it was done. Like, were you gonna, like, my mom let me have a pager. You couldn't like text me a hate code, you know? It was done once I got home. And I'm like, oh, that means hate 183. You want to kill me? I don't know. But then now the kids come home and they're being bullied and harassed all the time. You know, I feel like it's harder than ever, and kids don't know how to deal with it. Adults don't know how to deal with that either, you know?
Yeah. Well, Louis has only gotten love mail along the way, so I'm not sure if he understands.
I don't know who hate him. Why would you hate anything about anything he does?
No, but I think to your point, like, it's at a high because, you know, I think we collectively know that the world needs a lot more empathy.
Yeah.
But I'm always fascinated in, like, what prevents us from experiencing something that we so collectively want.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, her name's Dr. Michelle Borba, she's written a bunch of amazing books. One of them's called Unselfie.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and she's been studying empathy for like 30 years. And,
oh, wow.
And she says the three biggest categorical barriers to empathy are fear, narcissism, and anxiety.
Yeah.
All three of which statistically have increased over the past 20 years. Yeah. And it makes sense. The line she uses that I reference all the time because it makes very clear sense to me is as anxiety goes up, empathy goes down.
Oh, yeah. There's like only room for one of the liquid things, and one is going to be shifted. Yeah.
Yeah, and the world is more fearful, more rich with anxiety, and more narcissistic in lots of ways than it's ever been before. And so we have trouble experiencing connection when we're consumed by things that are self-orienting feelings, right? Yeah. Anxiety is a self-oriented feeling. I'm worried about what's going to happen to me. Yeah. How can I possibly think about what's going on with you? So
and then if you see other people are doing things, then the anxiety level, you're like, this is too much. This is bad. I'm bad. everything in the world is bad.
Yeah, and then we're overwhelmed.
And yeah.
And if
then
we
you
don't,
hate life and feel hopeless and depressed, and maybe you're thinking suicidal thoughts. It's like you can see how it snowballs so quickly.
yeah, the circle Louis is describing is the thing that I believe skills can break, right? So if we teach things like emotional regulation, which requires us to be like, it's a skill, like to be able to know what I'm feeling in a given moment and have adjust or cope or navigate. Like when I'm feeling something like stress or pressure or overwhelm or hate or hurt, right? Like those things are very real human emotions that if we don't do something with them, they tend to, like you said, like spill over.
You have to process them. It's like having a bunch of envelopes of mail, and it's just going to keep building up unless you like open it or throw out the trash mail.
We're having like a metaphor off. Right? It's like mail, silos, pot boiling over. They're all great, and like students need those to wrap their heads around what's going on. And like one of the metaphors we use is like the filter process. Like if you don't have a filtration system, which we would argue is values.
Do you talk about the filter of them taking things in or speaking things out, or probably both?
A little bit of both. Like when you're experiencing whatever it is in the world, there's a lot of research behind like values clarification, the process of identifying what things you want to carry. The language we use in our curriculum is our to-do list versus our to-be list.
Ooh, that's good.
We have lots of things we have to get done on any given day, and the world tells us we have to be productive, and we do. We have to like accomplish things in the world. But sometimes we get so focused on what we want to get done that we forget about who we want to be along the way.
Oh, that's so good.
And like to help students navigate that, I think is a really important process, right? To give them space to be like, what is it that I like? Who do I want to be along the way? And we give students the opportunity to reflect on that, to build on that, which can be a compass or a filtration system when someone's being a pain in the butt, or like when you disagree. Like we have those feelings, and most people, the distance between their feeling and their action is pretty quick. Unless you build in filtration processes that like speak to, this is who I want to show up with, even when I'm feeling frustrated or even when I'm feeling overwhelmed. So
you give them like that cushion for reaction, because like the reaction is never good. My reaction wanted to be like to say something not nice to that girl, but like you just need that little pause there to like really think through that. And I think that's so valuable, because I don't think a lot of kids are even taught that, and their parents probably don't know that either, you know.
Me and Raya always have this thing when we can feel like anger at each other boiling up. We both stop and we're like, okay, let's take a couple breaths. And we stop and try and like calm ourselves down, because then from that place you're more level-headed. You're not like reacting out of emotion. You're like, okay, let's just think, how can we be, and keep kindness as a part of it.
But you need that moment, and even you learning to do that. I mean, even if kids or teenagers are able to take that moment just to decompress, take a deep breath. I always teach my kids to even do like the 10-second count. Like you inhale for 3, and then you exhale slow for 7, and just getting that blood circulating in your brain, it calms you down, and it gets your brain thinking, where if you were ready to punch your sister or do something, or it's your reactionary something, you just need that pause to think, what is going to be the outcome? What would be the best way to do it? But people don't have that. I mean, you could be, it doesn't matter your age. You could be 5, you could be 75, and you could still be very reactionary.
Oh, it's like a lot of it's the adults, right? We ask when we do learning with teachers and things. We always ask, how many of you know?
More challenging, like with the teachers than with the kids, really, because they're hardwired in.
A little bit more habits built over time.
Do you see? Is there like efficacy? Like when you guys are, can you see breakthroughs? Like, are they realizing like, or maybe just being self-aware? Like, oh, I've been a bad example to my students or kids. Do they acknowledge that? Do you think?
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever like. The aim of the work isn't to guilt them. I think it's more around...
But is there ever like a breakthrough where they're like, oh man, this will change their dynamic in the classroom or something?
Totally, yeah. One of the challenges we give adults is to send a message to someone in your life and ask a question, what's one way I could be better in our relationship?
Oh, wow.
And some, the people that choose to take it...
I bet that's life-changing for some people.
We've had people say, I haven't talked to my mom in 10 years, and I decided, because you gave me this space... to ask this question, and they're like, I got a response, and we set up a date to have dinner. We had someone like ask to marry each other over this text message. We've had people heal like relationships with their kids. We've had
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's just the power of prompting, right? People need we think about social emotional skills as they're like as if they're givens.
Yeah.
And like they're just like they should be natural.
Yeah.
And for a lot of adults, they're not necessarily natural, but for a lot of educators, for example, they feel like they're pretty well-adjusted people, so kids should get this stuff okay.
Yeah, they'll figure it out on their path somehow.
Or they assume it's the parents' responsibility,
Yeah.
which is a dangerous assumption because a lot of the points being made, not all of those people are capable of role modeling what this work looks like. So that's the aim of what we're trying to teach in schools.
Oh,
and
that's so cool.
And we have like three big outcomes of our work. We want people to have engagement in their school, but ultimately like socially, how do they make their community better, the world better?
Yeah.
We want to create belonging because we know psychological safety in a school, in a classroom, changes the way we learn, changes the way we show up, changes the degree to which we're going to experience success.
Yeah.
And then the big one right now is well-being. We want people to experience, we're having a mental health crisis, and we have for a while. So how do we help people experience a sense of well-being in their lives and have the tools to like manage those things, to be able to thrive? Everyone deserves that.
What do you think is like the most powerful thing you offer when you're talking to like say middle school or high school age? Because I know that's when like kids can be so mean and just so awful. Like what is something that you have found that you've shared with them that you see is effective and really reaches them so they want to change?
One of the things that sticks with kids most often comes from an experience I had at a school in Texas where I was talking. It was a kindness assembly, and this kid came down afterwards, and I thought he was going to kind of make fun of me. He seemed like he was a cool senior guy.
Yes, you were like, oh, great.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like by high school, kids start to like experience the cynicism that the world offers them. Our world doesn't always do a great job role modeling the things we say we value. And so this kid walks up to me and he goes, "Hey man, I want to thank you for today because I realized today that I'm a nice person." And I was like, I thought he was sort of like mocking me, like I was like,
okay,
cool, yeah, I guess that was the point.
Good, great.
And he goes, I was like, great man, like that was sort of what we were trying to do. And he goes, no, I realized I'm nice, but I don't think I'm kind.
Oh wow.
And I said, what's the difference to you?
Yeah.
And he goes, I think most people in my school would say that they're kind, but they're actually just nice. Because I think nice is reactive. Like if I'm nice to you, you'll be nice back to me. Right.
Yeah.
If I agree with you, I'll be nice to you.
Oh wow.
If you drop your things, maybe I'll go and help. He goes, but I think the way you talked about kindness today, I realized that it's proactive. It takes work.
Wow.
Like I don't need to agree with you in order to practice compassion.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to drop your things for me to make you
Pick
feel
them
helped.
up so I look like, oh, that was nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And this senior boy at a high school in Texas, nonetheless, he starts to cry and he's like, I realize that kindness requires a lot of work. And I have a lot of work to do.
Wow.
And I was like, that's a great reflection, man. Like, that's better than I put it in my hour-long assembly, first of all. But when I share that, students connect to that. And I think they recognize, one of my big beliefs is that the world has fluffified the idea of kindness.
Yeah.
Which has devalued our practice of it. When we think about something as simple or as free.
It looks, maybe to like high school age kids, it seems like that's dumb or stupid or I don't have time or I'm about me and
One of the first things I said to Kandee when we started the podcast was that the first memory I have was that she out of the blue sent me this really kind message on Twitter, unprovoked, just a paragraph about how much she admired me and all these like beautiful things, and we didn't even know each other that well.
No.
But for me, that's kindness over niceness. There's no need for you to do that. It was nothing like. It just was amazing.
Being nice, like I wasn't publicly posting.
No, it was just a
like,
DM, and I was
nice,
just like, oh my gosh, like, wow, like I was just like, okay, like you're one of the good ones, because I think it's a hard space to navigate in. There's a lot of narcissism and distraction and kind of chaos in the kind of influencer space, and I feel like to find someone that just out of the blue did that, I was just
and
like,
to reach out, because I saw what he was doing, and Louis has such a presence when he walks in a room. I was telling him it feels effervescent, where you could say like a nice person can come and they'd be like, oh, I like your outfit, or offer you a couple, that's nice. But it's different when you feel kindness radiating off of you. And I remember one time we were like, it was like a VidCon or something. There's like, I don't know, thousands of people running around there and stuff. And I just watched like Louis come down the hallway, and you were talking and you could hear your laugh and your face lit up. And I could hear your laugh down the hall, and I was like, that's Louie. And I looked over, and you're tall, so you stood up with your dreads and everything. And I was like, you could see this effervescent kindness around him, and you can see people around him, because I know these people, they will be kinder. Like he elicits and invites kindness out of them and inspires them to be kinder, where you're like, everybody is better when they're around Louie. Like, you can see it, like, you know, all the tides of kindness are rising. And I think there's such a negative space, and a lot of people, not a lot of people, but you're very rare in this space, because most people either they suck it out and they make people feel bad, feel rejected, or people feel insecure, all these things. And you're the love that you radiate from your heart, it's like a welcome invitation for people to be comfortable, to be themselves. And then you see them want to step up, and they want more of what you have, because it's like it goes with you. Like, you don't probably see it because you're you, but it's so unlike other people in the world, you know? So when they start, I want to be more like Louie, like, why is he so happy and joyful and all these things all the time? And the rest of the world, like, well, I'm making fun and I'm being bitter and I'm selfish and all those things. So I really do think, like, you're creating examples of people to share more of that, and they want to be more of that around people.
And then hopefully it can be contagious, like you said. Like, I think that's the thing as well. It's like
contagious kindness, where people are like, oh, it's not cool to make fun of people, you know?
Yeah. And we were saying the whole thing of like hurt people.
Yeah.
And then it's the flip side is also opposite. I guess people that are feeling love.
Yeah.
You know, or you were saying, like, if you've got bitterness or hurt in your heart, that's the words that you're going to talk. But if your heart's full of love, then that's also.
It's like the overflow. Cool. The overflow of your heart comes out your mouth. Like, what is your heart filled with to come out with? And I think even for kids that are like, I just think even now more than ever, they're so ready to be attacked or made fun of, because like that's what you do online. You comment, I don't like this is stupid, that's dumb, that's played out. I feel like this is so valuable to teach that, and for teachers to model it, you know, to see that. Like, I want my kids to see me. That's ultimately how they'll learn. How do I talk to people? How do I treat people? How do I greet people? How do I say goodbye? And then when I see my kids doing it, you know, like the first time when I would see, and I wasn't just saying like, I want polite kids. I want them to be polite, but I want them from naturally to react. So when somebody brings them something at a restaurant, they're not just like doing this rote memory thing, like, thank you. You know, my kids look at me like, oh, thank you so much. Like, it makes my heart so happy to see them being kind and loving other people. And I think the same thing, you're arming these teachers to be examples to kids. And even that kid that probably was cool and people look up to him, to see him feeling that kindness is something he has to do more of. Oh my gosh, I wish you could just talk to every school and everywhere, every day. Like, they need a weekly reminder, like Housten's back for a weekly reminder, or like a booster shot of just to keep it going, because I think it's so important. Like, I think it's like life or death level important for some kids that are suicidal, and it's so much more of an epidemic than people know, you know. I get the messages in my DMs about kids wanting to kill themselves. They're not telling their parents, they're not telling their teachers, you know, but you're doing the groundwork that can help somebody even be aware. Like, it could be your worst day and somebody could say one compliment or one kind word, and that could give somebody the hope to keep going, you know. I think what you're doing is like so incredibly important. I wish there were like 100 more of you to be at all more schools everywhere.
Well, there are 100, there's thousands. I mean, there's Louie's walking around, there's yous walking around, there's all these people, and I think it's just amplification, and it's learning how to capture the ethos that you're talking about with your kids, capture, you know, Louie's sort of like radiance and effervescence, and how do you translate that into the skills, right? I think we're all beneficiaries of a lot of people who've inspired us in our life, and then I feel like one of the tasks of education is to bottle that up and give it curricularly so people can experience that same sense of hope.
Yeah. Is there like ways to help? Like, is there what are ways that you think brings awareness to what you're doing, or is it like I could tell people to have their schools contact you, or like what's a way to get you in front of more young eyes and hearts that need to hear what you're doing?
Yeah, if you know anyone who goes to a school.
I do.
Then
I think they're all going back to school too. So
yeah. I mean, that's our work, is like anyone and schools more and more are looking for this work, because I think one of the things that COVID did was reveal something that was already true, which is that we're desperate for connection, that social isolation was happening well before COVID, and we need these skills to connect. And people coming back, we were just talking about it earlier, like we need to relearn a lot of our social skills if
Yeah.
we're going to experience deep connection. So
And how not to be weird. I mean, people even like as an adult, like if I go on a hike or a run or something, like nobody wants to make eye contact. Like they're gonna catch COVID from looking at your eye or smile back. It's like so bizarre.
yeah.
So what do people do? Like, would they hear about you and like a parent or a student, do they like talk to the principal? How do they get you to be at their school?
Yeah, sometimes it's student advocated and up to the top, or sometimes it's parent advocated or family advocated. And then a lot of people find us just through schools. So it's like typically principals or counselors or district folks who bring us into the school. And sometimes it's just curriculum, but we also do trainings and professional development and support in lots of ways.
That's so cool.
Did you say that you maybe had some fun exercises to demonstrate some of the stuff that you do that we could kind of like take part in today?
What? I love exercises.
Yes.
Because we've been chatting a lot, but it's almost like seeing it in action. I feel like it's going to be even more.
Are we
Yeah.
role playing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Hey, lead the way.
No.
Lead us.
Yeah, okay. Here,
I
well,
have to be a bully?
no.
I feel like there was a bunch of like little bugs falling on us the whole time.
I agree.
Oh my
I was like
gosh.
watching Housten. I was like, shall I tell
You
him
did
there's
have a
like...
cute little ladybug that
Yeah.
really liked your collar here.
So I told you one of the things that we work on is mental health.
Yes.
And I feel like it's a conversation kids like are desperate for.
Yeah, and they don't know how to do it, and it sounds crazy probably.
It's such like it's a really abstract. I'm always a big believer, like words are so important because if we
Yeah.
don't have a common language, we can't solve for anything.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big paradigm shifts that students really appreciate is that mental health is not the opposite of mental illness.
Oh, that's really good.
And I think sometimes that's what like their thought is like
Yeah.
I'm either like depressed or I'm mentally
Yeah,
healthy.
I can't be just happy or in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
So
and,
good.
and
There's
there's
a whole
a
spectrum, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. In fact, the model that we offer kids is like two intersecting lines, and one of those lines is mental health, up and down, and the other line is mental illness.
Yeah.
And the idea is that we exist on both of those continuums
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Like you can have over here signs of mental health, diagnosed with things like anxiety or depression, and over here you could have no signs of mental illness.
Yeah.
And then you can have really high mental health and really low mental health, which means you can have mental illness and be mentally healthy at the same time.
Oh yeah.
And I think for a lot of kids, like that, it's really important for them to hear that. Like, I can be depressed and have a lot of well-being in my life. And so we, like in our curriculum, we define mental health as well-being.
Yeah.
And there are 3 ways that we can like support well-being in our life.
Yeah.
A lot more than 3, but like 3 big categorical ways. The first one's social. The second one's emotional, and the third one is mental.
Yeah.
So my hope or my thought today was that we do an exercise for each of the 3.
Okay.
We'll do a little social well-being,
Okay.
emotional well-being, and then mental well-being.
Perfect.
So the first one's social. We'll start with this. I'm gonna have you hold this up,
Me?
both of you.
Okay.
You can grab each side of it. And then I'm gonna give you this marker. So you might have one hand holding this and one
Okay.
hand on the marker.
All right.
And this first one is just a moment to establish a little connection. While you're holding this, and in fact I can help hold it a little bit here,
Okay.
I just want you to draw of each other a one continuous line portrait of the other person. So without lifting your
One
pen.
continuous line portrait.
So without
Does
lifting
it
the
have to
pen.
look like Louis?
Well-
or symbolically?
Yes.
I can make
to
a
both.
star?
So just do your best one line.
I really have to do his face?
To the best of your ability, without lifting your
Without
pen.
lifting the pen?
Yeah.
I'll practice my cursive skills. Oh, shoot.
Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, okay.
Are we ready? I'm starting. Are you starting?
Yeah, I'm starting.
One
Oh, no,
line?
This is...
Oh, shoot. I feel like I've already messed up.
There's no messing up, I promise.
Oh, jeez.
Oh no, this is
I
bad.
don't
Really
this is a
good.
good move. Oh, golly.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Wait. Oh, one
This is
continuous
going to be
line.
kind of like,
No, it's okay.
okay.
Good stuff.
Are you sure?
I feel like
Yeah.
it's very abstract, like
It's perfect.
Salvador
This
Dali.
is going
Picasso
to be
and-
very abstract.
It's so fun. Just try to capture his effervescent essence, you know? And try to
Okay.
capture Candy's heart. That's
Oh.
really nice.
The nose went so wrong. The nose is Candy. Please do
Commit.
not. Please do
You
not feel
already have
offended
to
by
forgive
my.
me because I don't know. Oh, shoot. It's
Oh,
hard
no.
because it's, oh my gosh, just
Don't lift the pen. How do you do this?
So
Oh, dude, my mouth
terrible.
went so wonky.
Oh my, this is very bad.
Those are good dimples, at least. That's nice.
I'm trying to add some.
Can you capture the
problem
dreads?
is you can't go back and correct
I
things
know.
because you can't lift your.
It needs a forehead.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to give you. Oh shoot, those are angry brows. Friendly brow. You got a unibrow. I know you don't have one, Louis. This is terrible.
I want to do the earring.
Oh yeah, that's a nice touch. This is really good.
Oh dear. Oh dear. How am I going to do this?
The
All right.
lifting. Oh my gosh, now you look like a punk rock.
Just 10 more seconds.
Oh, I need to
10
do the
more
hair.
seconds?
Yeah, just really,
Oh gosh,
really flow with it.
okay. This is so awful.
You're in good
You're
company,
much better
so you're
looking than this, Louis. Just.
okay.
I know, I really don't want this to feel like.
3, 2, 1. Oh, really good. There we go.
I was just trying to like keep it all like connected.
I love it. I feel like this could
Very
be a very
abstract.
valuable NFT.
Yeah. Yes. We'll set that aside.
Right now.
That's a real keeper. Okay.
That's
Here.
$1 million work. I
Really well done, both of you. I
Oh
think
no,
that
what am I doing? I
I
can't
did
even
the
put a
exact
cap.
same. I turned the cap around and then it was like another 10 on the other
I
side.
can keep training for
How
the
did we
whole.
do
Here,
the exact
I
same
got
thing?
you.
Like now we do like a high five of.
Boom.
Do we do a color
that's,
swap?
that was like
Nothing
an
even came
empathetic
off.
moment. That was perfect. Really? Okay.
We were on the same wavelength of artistry.
Okay.
So now I want to show you actually something from our curriculum. We built
cool.
this menu of get to know you activities because I think connection needs a framework.
Should we hold
Yeah.
for Justin to see?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Can you see that, Justin?
this one is called Deck of Destiny.
Okay.
Ooh.
And the idea is you get to choose a card and it'll reveal a get to know you question.
Okay.
So, Kenny, why don't you go first?
Do any of them have different significance? The shapes?
These are just the suits of the cards, so you can choose like a.
I'm gonna go with heart.
Great. And now, do you want which card do you want to go with?
Ooh, I wanna go with that.
So, if you could make a new law, what would it be?
Am I
Why?
asking Louis this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
This is my question.
Yeah.
A law. I mean, a law. I mean, this is probably going to be. I mean, there's so many.
I know.
It's so hard.
It's hard.
I mean,
when you
my
narrow
brain's literally flying all over the place. I'm like, should we make like guns illegal? I know that's like a whole big thing in the US. And I was like, should it be around like better policing? I don't know. I'm trying to think. Okay, law. I mean, I don't know what the law would be exactly, but I've been thinking a lot recently about the desperate need for preventative healthcare in the US rather than this like reactive healthcare that is questionable with all the capitalism.
Yeah.
So maybe it'd be around like some of these big institutions, which I feel don't always have people's best interests at heart. If it was to take those so they couldn't be privatized institutions in the health industry or prison systems, like deprivatizing, so there's no way of people making profit and money off
of
systems
something,
like that. Yeah. So that would be, I don't know what that law would be, but like
something.
yeah, deprivatizing prisons and health systems so people can't profit from it. And
People's
then
pain.
Yeah, people's pain. Yeah.
That's good. It needs a little fine tuning. We'll work the
Yeah,
wording out.
To write the whole law out properly, but
All right, we'll go back here. Louis, why don't you choose one?
I mean, I want to
Pick wise.
I want to choose heart as well.
It
Okay.
just seems like a
And
kind
then you're
one.
a queen, Kandee, so
Oh, thanks.
Who in your life makes you feel appreciated, and how do they show their appreciation?
Oh my gosh. I would definitely say my mom shows me, and I'm like a words of affirmation person, so she tells me all the time how much she appreciates things, and probably the reason I felt like loved up to do anything I did was probably her words.
That's good. Loved up.
Yeah.
when
Thank
did you first learn about love languages? Because I feel like that's something I would have liked to know sooner in my life.
Totally, right? Like
Yeah.
I've been like, I don't need presents, or I just
Yeah.
need time. I think I was like, I heard about it when I was like a teenager, but then
Wow.
it probably was like in my 20s that I did the test, and I was like, I am a words person. I do need words of affirmation. Like, I don't even care about gifts. That's nice and everything. Or I've seen other people, like, they don't care about words. Like, they just want time or all those things. So I think it's important to learn yourself. It's like your own handbook. And then when you tell people or when you're dating people, it's like you just want to be a thing. Like, I really like if you do this. This is how I operate. This is what makes me feel good. And this is also what I don't like.
I feel like so many relationships could have been saved had they known what their love languages were, rather than like you're both trying to express love and you're missing it.
And you're two different ways. Like, you just need the manual. Like, how do I make this work? This works with this. Otherwise, they're guessing and clanking around, and your relationship car never runs right.
And it's empathy. It's perspective taking to know that what I need in a given moment is different than what you need.
Right.
For those listening or watching that don't know about the love languages, it's basically this idea that we all have a primary way of communicating and receiving love, and there's like physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, and gifts. And we all typically will lean towards one or two of those as our primary. So if you're struggling,
what are you?
I think mine's physical touch, and I want to say quality time, but then me and Raya have this. We have different concepts of what quality time is. So she needs quality time too, but I'll be like, oh, watching a show on Netflix, quality time.
I'm together. And she's like, I want you engaged and you're acting with me.
So, but anyway, I think like looking back at previous relationships in my life, I'm like, wow, like I had no idea.
You can see where you're just like,
like I don't feel loved, and then it's just
and you're like, that's
you're just
why.
missing each other.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so you can see these questions can lead to like good, deeper conversation. And students need these, right? Because the classic question in schools is like, share 3 fun facts about yourself. And kids are like,
what does that do? It's like a selfish, I like popcorn. I like this movie. It just doesn't.
Or kids with anxiety are like, I don't have anything fun about me. Like,
I know.
I'm not even a fun person. Like, it's a hard question for all of us, you know? So we believe these are like a great way to build social well-being, because people need connection. It's like a fundamental human need. And we need like shortcuts to get there.
I actually did this every morning in classrooms. Like when you first get there, you had to talk with somebody new and you had to engage this way. That is so awesome.
That's the belief. So that's social. Social well-being is one thing that we can support. The next one's emotional. So let's head over here.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Nice.
We
is this just to stop them blowing away?
It's so cute. I love it though.
So you ask folks how they're feeling, and a lot of people will give you one of the 4 basic human emotions, which is mad, sad, glad, and afraid. But it's a good rhyming scheme. But the reality is that we all have a lot more detailed emotions that we feel on any given day, but if we don't know what those are, it's a lot harder to regulate them. Right? One of the most research-backed strategies for emotional regulation is name it to tame it. When I can name what I'm feeling, it allows me to take better control of it in my body and my mind. So this is a list of feeling words sorted by the 4 big categories. So over here you have glad or happiness. Over here you have afraid. Over here you have sad. And over here, what do we have?
Glad, sad, mad.
Mad. Yeah, there you go. And they're ordered roughly in order of intensity. So at the top, less intense, at the bottom, the most intense version of that feeling. So we'll just do a little movement-based one here, which is go ahead and move to the feeling you felt. You would describe your primary feeling of the past week. What's the feeling you felt most over the past week?
What am I doing with it? I'm going to stand near it?
Just go stand near it, yeah.
Okay. I think maybe content.
You're way up the charts.
Well, no, I think this is the high end, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the good one.
Well, they're all good.
I think you could question like the order slightly, maybe.
Definitely.
But I think they're like slightly different meanings in there. But yeah, I feel like content.
Yeah. So what is it? Why would you say that? I'm interested.
Well, I think the last week's been quite intense. Like we've been filming these podcasts every day.
Yeah.
But in doing that, for me, it's really this intersection of like, firstly, like we're doing it in the van that I built over quarantine. So it was like this feeling of like satisfaction of like, oh, I actually built something. And then
having a purpose to, you know, we both make a lot of content, but then this series has been really specified around, I want to engage with creators. Oh, we lost something.
Oh no.
Did
We
lose
lost
our
a feeling.
Did
It's
we lose
okay.
our joy?
Did we lose joy? No!
We lost being playful.
No,
That
playful's
seems
important.
appropriate.
Playful's
The card
here.
was being playful.
Playful needs a big stick.
So yeah, I think just the feeling of, I feel so content because I'm aligned right now with feeling like what I'm spending my time doing is really aligned with what I'm excited about, my purpose right now. So I feel like that brings contentment to me because it's like, yeah. And I feel like when I feel misaligned sometimes, I'm spending a lot of time doing something, I'm like, this isn't really even something I want to be doing big picture. That's when I feel a lot more frustrated, or, you know, I can jump into some of these words.
How about you, Kandee? Why are you feeling hopeful?
I'm feeling hopeful because I think I've had like a challenging last couple weeks, and I was probably definitely over in that row, these rows, the last couple weeks, and the last few days I felt like a little bit of hope has been welling up in my heart, which feels like a nice reprieve because it's not good to be in any of those too long.
Yeah. What takes you think, from something over here into hopefulness?
Definitely for me, it was how I was thinking about everything, you know? Was I thinking into my fear? Was I thinking into spiraling downward into all the negative worry and fears attached to everything I was thinking? And then for me, it was just my faith in God and my prayer that helped change my outlook from being in the probably hopeless and despair, and I don't even think there's words for as terrible I was feeling on here. So to be in the hopeful right now feels like it's a good break from my heart and my mind.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I think what you described is something that students really need to hear around stress.
Yeah.
Like even what Louis was saying, stress is actually like a necessary function in life.
Yeah.
And a lot of times stress gets a bad rep because we
Yeah.
use it in a negative sense all the time.
Yeah.
But anytime we're doing something purposeful, when we're in alignment, like there's stress involved.
Yeah, I was going to say I was like, oh yeah, I definitely have felt a bit stressed and anxious
Yeah,
as
you
well.
can straddle. You can
Yeah,
you
I
can
was
do a
like,
little bit of both.
These are some of the negative feelings I've been feeling.
Yeah.
But there's different kinds of stress, and I think students understanding that's a really important part of being able to regulate those things in our life.
Yeah.
There's stress that's outside of our control. There's stressors that happen, and when there's stressors outside of our control, it's actually our job to cope, versus stressors inside of our control where it's our job to manage. So coping and managing are really different things.
Oh, that's so good.
Being able to identify stressors that are out of my control versus in my control
Yeah.
is a huge deal for our mental health and well-being, right? We need to know how to take that stress and say, okay, what can I do to control this? And you just articulated it beautifully. I'm really stressed, I'm really overwhelmed, but there's actually a few things I can do. Reframe, write it down. In your case, like maybe it's pray to a higher power. Like those things are things in your control that take high levels of stress down, which students need.
And they need to know that too, like even just saying that, like there's stress everywhere. You're never gonna eliminate it. Just like tell me, you're never gonna eliminate hardship, all those things, but having the tools to know how to do it. And like Louis was saying, like what his dad taught him, to look at the challenges like exciting to find a solution and excited to find a problem to get yourself out of that, I think is so important that even me as an adult, I need a reminder of that, you know? Oh no, we're losing some more terrible ones.
It's okay. That's okay. Those ones can go.
We can lose that.
All right, let's get one more. We'll do one more exercise here. And this one's related to, we'll come on over here.
Are we leaving our cards?
We'll leave the cards behind.
They look so beautiful.
So social well-being, emotional well-being, last one's mental, which has a lot to do with like what we pay attention to. And it may seem a little cheesy, but one of the most researched practices is gratitude in terms of being able to support our mental well-being specifically.
Yeah.
I think the prompt, what are you grateful for, is a big vague one. And again, I'm a big believer in like frameworks to drive, like specificity drives action and meaning.
Yeah.
So I have a little set of cards here.
Okay.
And each of them has one of our 9 senses.
Okay.
Now, myth busting moment here, which is, I think
9
the world,
senses?
exactly.
What are they?
School failed us.
Let's guess them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sight,
Uh-huh.
Sound,
Yep.
taste,
Yes.
smell.
Yes.
sound. Have we done sound?
Did.
Hearing? We did that.
Well, you're counting on your hand. We have
Wait, what did you say the second one?
Okay, we have sight, sound, taste, smell.
Touch.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the 5 we were told about.
Yeah. Another sense. Your gut sense, your sixth sense, your inner sense. Am I getting close?
No.
Wait, what? Okay.
Intuition does feel like one, but it's
Yeah.
not a technical one.
There's 4
So there's
more?
4 more technical senses.
Yeah.
Okay.
I literally don't know. Do we get a hint?
I'll give you one to get you in the
Okay.
framework. Temperature.
Our body temperature?
Being able to feel temperature is a sense.
So
Really?
that's separate to touch.
Because maybe you don't have to touch yourself
Oh,
to
yeah.
feel it.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. Shoot, these are gonna be tricky like that.
Temperature. I mean, now I'm
That
going
didn't
off
help
on
me.
like more science,
Like,
like
at all. I was like,
oxygen level, like air pressure.
moistness of eyeballs? I don't know.
3 more. Balance.
Okay.
Okay.
Pain. Actually different than touch.
Really?
And
Yeah.
the last one, and a great vocab word for the day, propioception.
What does that mean?
No idea.
My awareness of where my body is in space. So the fact that I know
Spatial
Whoa.
awareness.
spatial awareness is a sense.
Really?
Yeah.
Like that you can sense how close people are to you?
Or that like I'm moving my arm here. That's a
that's
sensory
right.
experience.
That
Wow.
is very
Okay.
crazy.
Good, right?
What was that
Yeah.
word? What?
Propioception.
Propioception.
Propioception?
Nailed it.
Perfect. Propioception. I'll say that 10 times.
So
the rest of the day.
in this bag is a series of cards, each with one of the 9 senses on it.
Okay.
The idea is you're going to draw one,
Okay.
and you're going to reflect with Louis or Louis to Kandee. What's something you're grateful for related to that sense?
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
Make sense?
Hopefully we don't get the tricky ones because I'm still like my mind's still a little baffled.
I'll help you out if it's too tricky.
Oh, they're big cards. Okay, I'm gonna just feel like I'm in Vegas. We're just gonna pick up. Oh, good. Can I tell?
Yeah. Okay. We'll
Here we
each
go.
draw
It's
one.
a
We'll be ready to go.
surprise.
Okay.
It's not propioception. Don't worry.
Okay. Oh, okay, nice.
Did you get it?
No, I didn't get
Okay.
propioception.
All right. Go ahead.
Smell.
Nice.
Am I supposed to share a thing?
Share a gratitude. What's a smell you're grateful for? A favorite smell? Even something you could even experience it right now.
I'm grateful that I can smell after it rains when it smells like everything's been clean and it feels like a fresh start, or it feels like it's washed my soul a little bit. I'm always thankful for that smell of like wet soil or wet grass or just cleanliness, and it feels like we're removed from man-made things.
Which makes a lot of sense in California as well. Where I grew up, it just rained every single day, so I lost that level of gratitude for rain. I was just like, stop raining.
Kandee, can I give you another? One of my other favorite words in the English
Yeah.
language is petrichor,
What does that mean?
the smell after a fresh rain.
Oh my gosh, you are just
Really?
infusing me with so much intelligence today.
That's actually a
Petrichor?
name.
It's
for
a
it?
word. Petrichor.
And that's a
Petrichor.
noun? How would I use it in a sentence?
I woke up to petrichor and I was
Delighted.
delighted.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Okay.
Start throwing that out in the tweet or something later.
How about you, Louis? What'd you get?
I got hearing, and I've just been enjoying music a lot recently. I've been doing a lot of driving, so we drove the school bus all the way to Nashville,
Yeah.
and then even like just drive my van around this week, and I just love playing music, and I feel like any sense can have memories attached to it.
Yeah.
And music's one of those things where if I listen to music that I was listening to like 20 years ago,
Yeah. You
it
can
brings,
right
it
back that
provokes,
pocket of time.
it provokes a
Yeah.
lot of those emotions from back then, like where I was in life, the things I was thinking,
Yeah.
and it's so nostalgic. And it's just like,
Yeah.
I've been like going on some of those like late night drives to listen to music, just like, I don't know.
think that's what a gift you have, because I've always loved in your vlogs, is you always had the coolest music. It was like this jazz, hip hop fusion that felt like mellow, and it created a vibe, like whatever you were doing, it felt like there was more of a feeling. And then I remember one time when we were looking at your school bus at VidCon, and what something I love about Louis is he creates an emotional feeling or an experience. And then we got in the van and you turn the lights on and they look like enchanting and cozy, and you put music on and it felt like a moment. Like you create those moments, and I think that has to do with your love of music and everything too. It gives people, they share in your love of music too. Because I was like, where is he getting his songs? I love all the music he picks on here.
Oh, thanks.
Music is story, right? It helps
Yeah.
tell a story.
Yeah.
So good. So for me, like these practices are ways that we can help young people and all of us experience more well-being in our life, and
It's like you're grateful. Like all of a sudden you're like, I'm so glad I can smell rain. I'm so glad there's music. And it snaps you out of your, I got a thing, and I mean, everybody does this, is nothing new, but just writing down like the 3 things I'm thankful for in the morning, and it shifted me from feeling lack, just being like, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing this, I'm failing at this, I'm bad at this, to me turning around and being like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm thankful for, and moving, it literally changes the whole way your day has started. So I think this is, I mean, even this for like the smell thing. I had friends that like lost their sense of smell during COVID, and their taste, like everything tastes like roast beef to you and smells like roast beef, gross, but you're so thankful for what you have, you know?
Yeah. And I think for all of us in this like greater conversation, for me about like mental health and well-being, is obviously practices like this don't necessarily solve things like depression or anxiety or like those mental illness pieces, but the research does tell us that these sorts of practices, if we proactively are practicing them, they reduce the likelihood of mental illness in our life. Or for experiencing mental illness, these sorts of things, social supports, mental, emotional supports, they amplify other things like treatment, like therapy. When we do these things, our therapy becomes more effective, our treatment becomes more effective. So these are the sorts of things that I think are necessary for a more functioning world. And
it's like a workout for people's mind, where you're working out and you're getting your body in shape so it's strong and can endure and handle all these difficult tasks, but nobody does things actively for their mind, you know, and then you're like, my mind is out of shape, it probably in some areas and times, like it's forgotten how to do the heavy lifting and the strong work, because it's just been sitting there and I've been feeding it junk food. Just feeding it bad social media or bad Netflix series or whatever, you know, during quarantine is not good for recharging the mind with the right stuff.
And I think it's like, there's a logic to it. You're like, oh yeah, of course, like being grateful for things is going to make you more just like live in a better headspace. But I think it goes back to what you're saying, is like there's some simple things that we just need reminding of. And I've got friends that are like get so deep into the victim mentality, and I'm just like, it's hard, because I'm like, part of me just wants to shake them to be like, just look at your life, there's so much to be grateful for. But I know, like, obviously everyone needs to find their own process, journey. But I just think, if it's something early on you can get in the habit of doing. I mean, there's tons of studies, right, about gratefulness and gratitude and
starting this in kids who don't have parents, or they're not reading books about gratitude or anything yet, but you get to be what comes in and infuses this. I just think
we got in a really good habit of, when me and Raya go to sleep at night, before we fall asleep, we just say, oh, what's like 3 things you're grateful for today? And like we try and do that every night, and it's just like, or in the morning might even better, like you start your day off with gratitude. It's just like
even going to sleep with good wired thoughts is good too, because if you go to sleep, I've gone to sleep looking at social media, and I just put my phone and go to sleep, and you go to sleep feeling this lack, this you're not good enough, all these things. It's not good to send your mind off to sleep that way.
I need to get back. To be honest, I'm bad at the moment. I'm still falling asleep, like holding my phone. So for a while we managed to get like leave the phones outside the bedroom before we go to bed.
What did you do for an alarm?
I bought an alarm clock.
An actual
real alarm clock.
Impossible.
So crazy.
I think at least like I could turn my phone on airplane and mode and like have a few, you know. So I feel like that's the other thing with like the modern age and what a lot of these kids are going through, is like we can't fully relate, because when I was a teenager, maybe one friend got a phone when they were 16, and I thought it was hilarious. I was like, what? Are you a business person doing business at school? Like, I just remember thinking, and now it's like kids are glued to screens from toddlers.
And it's like the thing, even when I wake up, the first thing I will do is like, I used to immediately look up my phone, and then I stopped and I was like, I don't even want to look at my phone for like at least an hour, and I want to go read a book or do whatever I'm going to do first, and then get your mind all caught up in that. But it's not a good start, you know.
No. So much anxiety.
Everywhere, I
always wake up like, oh no, what messages am I going to have? Like, someone's angry at me this morning, like I missed a meeting. I'm like, oh dear, like, just like.
Things we can work on together, for sure. I'll offer one thought, I suppose final thought that I have around this work, which is one of my favorite pieces of research I discovered over this past year as we were building new curriculum for kids. they did this study where they asked people to stand at the bottom of a hill looking up and describe the steepness of it.
Yeah.
And then they asked that same person to do it again when they had someone standing next to them looking at the hill together.
Oh, wow.
And they described the hill in the second situation as less steep, even though it was the same hill.
Really?
And I love the idea that our physical view of the world changes when we feel like we have someone to
On
do
your
life
side.
with, or
Yeah.
that we're not alone.
Yeah.
I feel like there's lots of daunting things in the world.
Yeah.
And I hope that like this series and your work, my work, all of our work does something to make hills look a little less steep. That's the
love
goal.
that so much.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. I love what you're doing. I feel like you should go into schools, coffee shops, shopping malls, where adults are, where geriatric homes, just anywhere. I feel like everybody needs this message, you know?
If we've got audience members listening, especially younger audience
Yeah.
members that are like needing some of these
Tips.
tips and things that maybe aren't going to school right now, or their schools aren't open to your programs, is there any resources people can find some of these things we've been learning about online that they can just access?
Yeah. So I wrote my first book last year, as you know.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
What's it called?
It's called Deep Kindness.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and the book includes lots of stories, but also a lot of practices. It's like designed to be a bit of a manual to live a life more rich with kindness.
Awesome. Where can people get it?
Deepkindness.com.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. That's such a good name. Good thing you got that.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it. You're making stuff more accessible for people because, I think this world needs more kindness and more tools and like frameworks for how to
Yeah.
live better in life. And
Yeah.
thanks for today, man.
Thank
Of course.
you so much.
Thanks for
This
That was
sharing
super
what you
fun.
did.
It
This
was
was
so-
so awesome. It's so great to meet you.
Thanks for playing.
This was so much fun.
I feel like I could do this all day.
I could have done
Truly.
more and learned
Yeah,
more vocabulary
truly.
words. I already forgot the second one you told me.
Petrichor.
Petrichor.
The
I remember
smell.
like petrol core, Petra core. I'll try to remember.
Lock it in.
What did you think of that? Or do you think
Oh
it's
my
Housten and
gosh,
what he's
I think
doing?
it was so amazing. Like, I think what he's doing is so important. I wish every school had that. Like, every morning they had like a group of his, like a collection of his exercises to do, because I think it would be so helpful.
It's amazing, like thinking back and being like, wow, like my life would be so different if I learned some of those lessons earlier on, like as a teenager.
yeah.
Like that's when you need them the most, almost.
You don't know what you're doing. Like, I feel like high school, they don't teach you the things you need most. Like, teach you how to do taxes, teach you how to manage your money better, teach you how to. It's the most socially like separated age. Like, think about preschool. You're like all little kids. You're like, oh, see a friend, play. Even elementary school, you're more friendly. And then middle school gets weird, more separated, judgy, cliquey. And then it gets even more so in high school. Like, I was so shy in high school. I didn't talk to people. If there were like prompts to like engage me with, so other people could have gotten to know me or made me less afraid to engage or something, that would have been so valuable.
Yeah, and even like learning about yourself, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're always learning more about ourselves and
Yeah, we should be.
how we. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we should be. It's never like we finally reach the destination
No.
of being fully self-aware, but it's
Yeah.
like it's something you do through life. But I feel like my journey, even in the last 5 years, I've
Yeah.
dramatically grown as a person and my
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
And it's things that I could have learned earlier on, and I think it would have just helped me just infinitely
so
more
much,
in
yeah.
life.
Yeah, I think so too. Everything you learned, like even when people say, "Oh, what would you go back and tell your high school self?" High school self, I could go tell myself things just 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe even a year ago with what I know now. I mean, I listened to this lady. Her name is Caroline Leaf, and she's a neuroscientist, and like just what she's taught about the brain and the plasticity of the brain and how we process our stress and our thoughts and traumas and all these things, like that our brain just we need to give it direction. It's just like a thinking tool, and how our brain and our mind are two separate things. Like the mind is the energy that goes through the brain. Just learning all these different things of how to understand this powerhouse in your head, you know, and if you don't even know how it works or how to make it work for you, especially when you're stressed out, you're dealing with the trauma, you're going through a grieving period or anything, it's like we don't come with an automatic manual on how to use our mind properly. And just some of the things, even times, just give yourself a break, that it's okay to just have a break and go easy on yourself and find some way to laugh. Find, like he was saying, all the things about gratitude. They're really game changers when you shift your mind, and even encouraging people. Even I was going through something really difficult some weeks ago, and even me encouraging other people, whether it was a homeless man I saw at the little food place, or a guy came knocking on my door and he was talking about how mean people were to him at all the doors, and even encouraging him, it lifted me out of the little sad pit I was in to make him feel good, you know? It's so many little things.
I've got a question around another question, just around because I feel like you know so much more about the beauty industry, the kind of beauty gurus on YouTube, and I would love to know your thoughts on how do we find the balance of celebrating beauty, having using makeup to be creative and have fun, and then on the flip side of the beauty industry is this pressure, the pressure of, it's not just the beauty industry but the fashion industry, everything. It's this pressure towards especially women, I think, to look a certain way, to meet certain beauty standards, and if they don't, then they're not worthy, or they've got less value, and then it brings up a whole generation. It's not even kids, it's women. I remember my mum growing up always thinking, you need to lose weight, or whatever it is,
cellulite, or all these.
And for me,
things.
this is decades, probably hundreds of years of
corsets from centuries ago.
But it's all this system that's been built to, in my opinion, oppress women specifically. And I know guys can suffer a bit from having low self-esteem, but I feel like women are just smashed and smashed and smashed with this
idea of perfection.
Yeah, and it's unachievable, constantly moving,
unnatural,
and the goals constantly moving. It's this year, this is the
butts
fashion
are big,
thing.
boobs are it's just shifting. You can't be skinny enough now.
So what do we? Firstly, how do we start combating this? How can we, being in your position of being in the beauty industry, what is your perception? Do you see something? Do you see it changing at all? Do you see? I don't know. I just wonder. This is something I see doing so much damage.
Yeah.
And how can we, in the same way that I think social media is so brilliant and so beautiful and can do so much, but it also has this toxic side. I see the same for the beauty and fashion industry, where it's it's so great. I love a lot of your fun tutorials where you're doing Disney princesses, and you're having a lot of fun with it as well. But then how do we also celebrate and help women realize their inner beauty, and also realize that they don't need to look a certain way to be loved?
Yeah, that's really good. Everything you said is exactly things I think about and I feel is dangerous about the beauty community, because what I like to say is I think that makeup is something that unlocks your inner self-confidence to come out. And if that does it in a way, if even when in the Great Depression, the one thing that still sold when nobody was buying anything was lipstick sales went up. And a lot of the women, their husbands were away at war. It wasn't even for the men. It was for them to put it on and them feel good about themselves. Like my grandma, she was 98, and she was going to see no one. She didn't leave her house. She didn't have friends come over. She was just by herself in her house all day long. She'd see us, but she would wake up and she would put her bright red lipstick on every day. It's because it made her feel something. She felt beautiful.
Confident.
Yeah. She felt put together. She felt some kind of way, even though it was not to impress one other person, And I think the difference where it just makes me so sad what social media has done, and it's made things, even when my daughter, she would comment on other features that other people have that are so unrealistic, and people can get plastic surgery or do whatever makes them feel confident or wonderful. But I think when the standard becomes this idea of that people can't celebrate the beauty, I love the beauty of people that have imperfect teeth or faces look all unique and different, And I think beauty should be something that enhances what you feel, and not something that you're doing because you feel you're not good enough, or you're trying to look hot or look a certain way for guys or other females or whatever it is, you know? And I think that pressure is what I don't like, because you can have the most beautiful person that there's probably a lot of filters and Facetune and things they've done to look perfect, but I have seen it, and I've seen very beautiful people with very ugly attitudes, and that I don't care how beautiful your face is, when you're rude and mean and selfish and uncaring to other people, it's like you become blinded to whatever ideally perfectionist they could look. And it just, I think real beauty is something that you should feel in a dark room where you can't see a thing. It should be what you feel from somebody's heart. It's the thing that's timeless. It's what's going to make you beautiful when you're 80 and 90 and your skin isn't taut to perfection. You know, it's the way that you make people feel. Anybody with makeup, I can take anybody's face, and with makeup and a few tricks, everybody can look like this ideal level. But that's not what the real beauty should be. And it shouldn't be that you feel a pressure to have to sell yourself, or you look sexy or appealing in these ways. It breaks my heart that a picture of a girl's butt or a picture of her boobs in a bikini top will get a lot of views. Or I see these young girls that are my daughter's age that's what they're posting because they know it's getting a lot of likes, and that's what makes them feel valued, when that's the trashiest, lowest of the bottom value you will ever be getting. It is not sharing what makes you unique in your heart and your gifts and your talent and your purpose and what you're there for, you know?
I also realised, like, as a guy, being influenced by society and being programmed by what I consume, I had a realisation only recently, maybe like in the last 5 years, that my perception of female beauty has been distorted, and it's from this unrealistic thing that I've been fed from a kid, of like the music videos of celebrities, all of whom, like you said, it's like photoshopped magazines covers, everything. And what's so unfortunate is women, I don't think the variety of shapes and sizes our bodies come in are celebrated.
No.
So there's not enough diversity and representation, and I think you see it more and more now. Like, brands are starting to work with plus size models, and
right now,
but it's only new, and I feel like
very recent.
I feel like angry that it wasn't even that I consciously
it wasn't your fault. That's all that they put in front of your eyes.
But I recognizing this now, of like, whoa, I was programmed to believe a certain thing, and I want to deprogram. I want to so I started just following Instagram accounts of women that don't fit into the typical kind
standard
of what beauty is, because I want to see more and be subjected to more, just like different humans, you know, and not feel like, oh, this certain body type
is not what the world has shown me is attractive.
And then I even remember a lot of my friends I used to hang out with, my female friends, would wear a lot of makeup. And I remember, and it's interesting now, Raya doesn't really ever wear makeup. I think the most she'll do is she'll get her lashes done, like she'll get them done. But for me, it's like, for so long, I only saw women with makeup, and then when I saw women without makeup, I was like,
whoa!
Like, but then
totally
it was like,
different.
but then I was getting used to it. I was like, oh, but this is what you actually look like, and the makeup is, I mean, for somebody it was a celebration, it's fun, it's confident, and I feel that other people hide behind it to be like, they wouldn't feel confident enough to step out of the house without it. And I know friends like that still, that like I've never seen them without makeup on.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't know, it's interesting. It's like, I think
that is their comfort, and they probably feel insecure without it. But I really think,
and I know, for instance, like, I've got friends that they had really bad skin and acne, and that was something they needed to feel confident. Like, how can I use foundation? I mean, I don't really know makeup terms.
You totally did. You're perfect.
Did I do it right?
You're nailing it.
To like, just to help them feel like they're not going to be laughed at or at school. You know, it's all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I just think it's such an interesting topic to talk about, because I imagine for you also having young girls and bringing them up in a world which is there's probably even more pressure than when you were growing up on the beauty standards. Like, how do you help parent and support them
when
Yeah.
they're feeling insecure or feeling like they need to reach these different
Well, I think
standards.
what's interesting is my kids, they've said, Mom, I like you better without makeup on. And they're like, you look younger without makeup. I like seeing your freckles. And my freckles are something I hated my whole life. So I would use the foundation to make it look like I didn't have any freckles because I hated them. You know, and it was so interesting to see their perspective on it. And even my daughter, where of course, I mean, like, I'm her mom, you know, I can teach her any makeup trick she wants under the sun. But it was so funny. One day, I think she was going to a dance or something. I don't know if it was prom or it was like some kind of formal dance. And I had like these individual lashes and I was like, oh, we can put these lashes on. And she's like, I don't want to do it, Mom. And she's like, because I don't want to like how I look with them more than how I look without them.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so
That's so wise.
so wise and so beautiful to hear from her, to say she wants to love her beautiful face the way that it is. And I think so many girls I see that are her friends, you know, they look so much older and they're doing so many things to put so much makeup, and it's fun to experiment and play, and I understand that part. But I just want, I mean, one of my favorite things is when I wash my face off at the end of the day and I have no makeup on and I can just see my face. And maybe I look like a 12-year-old boy and maybe I like it, you know, like I just see that I don't look like a glammed up girl. And sometimes when I was a little girl, I remember I went somewhere and there's this movie, I don't know if you ever saw, it's called The Black Stallion, about this horse with the little boy. It's like from the 80s or something.
Yeah, I think I do remember
Yeah,
that.
it's like really old. And I remember I was a little girl somewhere and I remember some lady came up and she told me, and she said, you look just like the little boy from The Black Stallion. And to me, somewhere in my head, it made me feel so bad. I remember thinking, I don't even look like a little girl. Like, I felt like she didn't think I looked like even a little girl. Like I wasn't pretty or something. And so for a while, I would see myself and I was like, you know what? I do look like that little boy. But then at one point I was like, I like my little boy face. I like my freckles. I like the done up face more, I think. I like my face without makeup more. Of course, when I put it on, it's fun to be like, oh, wow, I look more glamorous or whatever. But I think there's a comfort and a realness. I love seeing women without makeup. I think their faces look so beautiful. I love how eyes look without mascara and eyelashes and all that stuff, where you just see into the windows of the soul, you know?
It's interesting. This literally happened to me the other day. I saw a friend of mine. She always has very, very dark eye makeup.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe like she always has fake eyelashes.
Yeah.
The other day I saw her, she didn't have any eye makeup on. And I was like, she looks so beautiful. And it was
Really?
not that she didn't look beautiful before, but I was just like,
but there's this purity and
I was just like, I didn't tell her because I was just like,
you don't want to make her feel bad.
no, I didn't want to say like you shouldn't wear the eyelashes, but I was
You
also
look-
like,
you look
your
so
eyes
much
look
better.
amazing, like without
Yeah.
it, with or without it.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. It's
So
not.
your eyes look amazing without.
It's not.
that.
Yeah. Wait, one sec. Oh,
Oh.
this truck's a bit.
Oh,
No,
sorry,
it's
yeah.
cool. That's cool. We're going. I don't think it's about shaming people that do wear makeup and saying,
Right.
"Oh, you're insecure, don't wear makeup," because I think there's like the whole thing you've been doing. There is something
Yeah.
fun and
Yeah.
exciting, and like girls doing makeovers on each other and getting ready for your wedding
It's
day.
fun,
Like I understand
yeah.
it. Like I don't think the beauty industry and makeup is bad. I just see a side of it that can be bad.
I do see the side that is not good. The side that I like that is a therapeutic thing. When I've gone
Yeah.
through terrible things in my life, and if I'm just spending 10 minutes not thinking about them, and I'm just like dabbing colors and doing things on, and it does make me feel a little bit confident, you know, like to me, I would liken it to like, I would want to live in sweats every day of my life because it's comfortable and I just prefer it. But the times when I do dress up and I do put heels on or I do
Yeah.
put a pretty dress on, I do walk differently and I feel prettier, you know, like
Yeah, if I'm putting a suit on and we're
Yes.
going to a special event, I
yeah,
get it.
you're like, wow. But naturally, I want to just be in sweats and have just like moisturizer on my face. And for me, I think the difference is, well, before COVID, I would go to the gym and work out every day. I would not wear makeup because that's gross. I'm always sweating when my
Yeah,
pores
yeah.
are choking and stuff. And I remember somebody came up and they were like, they gave me a compliment, which is weird because I was like, they gave me a compliment and I don't have any makeup on? Like, wow, maybe they had sweat in their eyes. I don't know. But to feel like, and I think the beauty of it is, I hope that people feel my heart feeling beautiful more than they see my face
Yeah.
dolled up, because anybody can put enough lashes, enough stuff, you look, you know, good. But I think the true thing is you can feel it and you can have fun and that can be something, but when the beauty becomes this something that you feel, you don't feel just you as beautiful, the you in the sweats, the you with just face oil on, that is where the beauty is. That's where the real you is, with all the distractions. You take off, anybody can do to, I think, the pureness, the rawness, you know, like you take off everybody's jewelry and outfit. If you're just wearing a robe and just being you, your heart, I just think the heart should be what is so much more beautiful than anything you put on top. You can put makeup on a mean person all day long, and I really don't think that makes you a beautiful person. You just have a very nicely put together, assembled face or something, or looks attractive to standards, but it's not real. Like, real people are gonna have cellulite. You're gonna have a little squishy something where you don't want it. You're not gonna have this body that was created by all these fake things, or Photoshop, or plastic surgery, or all that things. And if people want to do that, that's fine, and that's what they want. But I hope that I can be somebody that shows people I don't have to be perfect, and I have things I don't like about my face or body or all these things, but I hope more than anything that my little heart will shine with so much beauty that blinds you to any imperfection or jiggly leg or not in shape, size I want to be, that, you know, my heart is. And I worked with a girl, she did hair and I did makeup, and we worked on a TV show. This is before I even started YouTube, and it was funny because we had like girls that were models that were like very beautiful, you know, they were paid to be there as these little, like, I don't know, hosty girls. I don't know what they were doing actually. And they were trying to be very sexy, you know, and we did their hair and makeup until they looked like extra gorgeous. And I remember my friend was like not a small size, and she was not like the standard beauty like those girls, but she was so fun, and she was just so fun to be around and made everybody laugh. And it was funny because all the guys on the crew were like fawning over my friend and like asking for her number because she was so fun. And the model girls were not very friendly and kind of not nobody was trying to get their phone numbers, but it was so funny from my viewpoint to see. And my friend, she even had like a fake like tooth. She would like snap it and out, and it would come out and look like she didn't have a tooth there. And she was so hysterical, so like a ball of joy to be around. And I was like, her beauty lights up rooms, you know?
I think confidence
she was
sexy.
confident.
I think confidence is sexy, and I think you can not fit into that kind of typical beauty standard that the world pressures people into.
Yeah, but you're confident.
If you find, for me, this is the key. Yeah. I think it's finding a true, deep love for yourself. Yeah. And I think when you can truly love yourself and you don't feel that self-hatred that the world pushes on us, I feel like that confidence and seeing somebody that loves themselves makes them lovable, makes them want you. I think people are super attracted to that.
They're drawn to it.
Yeah. And it's not like a self-love. No, it's not like a super
thing.
pride, narcissistic thing. It's just like a genuine love, you know?
But you're right. It's something that and she was confident. Like, she didn't care if she just walked around as if she was the most beautiful thing in the world. Not acting that way, but that confidence level was, she didn't care. To her, she could have been like a supermodel, you know? And that was contagious, where you were like, oh my gosh. And you were drawn to her. Nobody was drawn to those models that, like, I mean, Instagram wasn't even around then, but if they had Instagrams, they'd probably have big pages, you know? But in the reality of things, like, a picture is so different than real life. I've been to events where you see these people with big followings. I mean, you've probably seen it too, or people in the YouTube space. And online, they have this different persona. And then when you see them in real life, you're like, where is your personality? You are nothing like what you portray. The real you is so different. And I think when people are aware of the real them, who you affect around you in the world, oh my gosh, that can just make somebody attractive in a way that is beyond what the eyes see, you know?
I would love, we're going to wrap up soon.
Okay.
I would love to leave on a note of, like, for people that are watching and listening, that maybe they're feeling a bit lost in life right now, maybe they're feeling, maybe they relate to some of what we've been saying about, like, they do have a self-hatred, they do feel self-conscious, and they're struggling to figure out a way forward. What would your life advice be for them?
My life advice would be, sometimes if you even make a little list, if you write things that you love about yourself, that you want to bring awareness. Like, for me, when I was going through a hard time, and I was like, what do I love about me? You know, like, what would somebody even love about me, you know? And I was like, I know that I love making people happy. I know that I love making people feel loved and encouraged. I love the fun things of life, you know, I love little moments. and find those things that you love about yourself. Do you love watching sunsets? Do you love listening to certain music? Do you have a little thing that you take care of you? You know, in those hard times, I would say, okay, I'm gonna take a bath. I'm gonna read a book I love. Find the things about you that you love and feed those things, and know that you are amazing. And if nobody has told you today, you are loved, and you have so many talents and gifts and things to share with the world. Sometimes you just have to make a little list of those things. Like, you know, I like shopping at vintage flea markets. I like watching funny movies. I love a good dessert. I want to have the things you want in the future. You know, like, what is it that you find in life that you love? What makes your heart spark? You know, what wakes you up and makes you feel good? Do you like to paint? Do you like to make music? Is it sports? Is it working out? What is the thing that makes you feel alive and do more of those things? And the greatest thing that we can do is, instead of turning everything into us, is really turning it outside. How can you help the world around you? And it can be small. You don't have to say, oh, I want to go open an orphanage in Africa or something. Start with where you're at, what you have and where you at. If you go to a coffee shop and you can cheer up a person there, or you take the time to do something, you will feel more love. The more you give out, love is the most amazing thing, because the more you give of it out, it's like it just replenishes even more. Then there's never going to be, you're at a loss for it. And even the beauty, start to find things that you love about yourself. I have stretch marks and I have cellulite, and I love that that's real. You know, you could go to like the dollar store and get a bunch of plastic bowls that are perfectly plastically extruded from a mold, and they look all exactly alike. Or you could go to like a boutique where they have handcrafted pottery, and there's going to be different little lines and different little variations that make them imperfect, but that's where the value is, because you know it was handcrafted. It's not a cheap little something. It was this beautifully crafted something, and that's what everybody needs to rejoice in. I love my weird little freckles. I do have sun discoloration, but that's just me and my skin, and that's what makes it real. The beauty is in the realness and in the imperfection, and the more you embrace it and you let your confidence, let your joy, let all of that stuff start overflowing, and that is what makes you seem like the most attractive person. Like when I first met you, and you radiated and exuded this joy and this, it's like you took time, you looked people in the eyes, you asked them questions with a real caring heart about how they were doing, and that is what made you look so confident and so full of joy and so full of all these things, that I think that's why so many people were attracted to you, your content and everything, because it wasn't just about, look at how great I am. It was how great you made everything around you seem. And even in the hard times, I remember there was a vlog where you were having a hard time finding internet. You were in another country and so many things were going wrong. You were editing and not sleeping, and you had like flights and all these kind of crazy things were happening. You had so much joy, and you were smiling and you were laughing, and you were maybe delirious, probably not sleeping and not eating. But seeing the joy that you had go through that was so just inspiring, even to me, to be like, look at how he's just like gliding through these things with still having joy, and you were still making other people feel comforted and good. And I think that is ultimately what beauty should be, not of perfect anything we see on Instagram, because it's so fake. It's all so fake. And the realness is what I see when I witness you in a room with people. That is real, what real beauty and real attraction is. People are just attracted to that, you know?
Oh, thank you. I feel the same about you. Totally.
Oh, thanks, Louie.
Well, how can people find you that want to find you online? What's your...
It's just my name. I thought it was terrible. I didn't have a clever name for my YouTube, but it's just my name, Kandee Johnson, and my parents spelled it crazy. It's Kandee Johnson, and I do have one TikTok, but everywhere else I'm kind of everywhere on Twitter, Facebook,
I haven't
YouTube.
started that yet either.
I did one and I was like, I don't know if I'm
It's
doing
so
this
much
right. It's
stress.
so much pressure. It was too much pressure. Maybe I need to just make silly random ones and it will be better.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being
thank
a part
you,
of this podcast.
for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me in your cool van and
Yeah.
for getting to hang out with you. I haven't seen you in so long.
Yeah.
This is awesome just to see friends again.
It's great to catch up.
I know. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow Kandee and Character Strong and subscribe to this podcast for future episodes. Please leave a comment suggesting future guests you'd like to see on the show.